Ladies and gentlemen, here they come again, live from the world's center of speed. Welcome to the 22nd running of the $660,000 Daytona 500. The greatest stock car race in the world is less than 12 minutes from its start. The Daytona 500. We're in the control tower. This is David Hobbs. I'm Ken Squire. The field has been augmented from 40 to 42 cars for today's race, and it should be a thriller from top to bottom.
Well, the tension's really been building here this week. The money, the quality of the field's up, and so are speeds. And if you thought last year was a gripper, watch this space very closely.
The entire field grouped very closely together after those 125-mile qualifiers. Some 80 cars tried to make the field. Again, it's 42 that will be rolling out here this afternoon. Over 130,000 people have gathered to see these cars. They're great drivers in their effort to win this, the greatest race of them all in stock car racing. Brock Yates is standing by with one of the key figures in last year's finish. His car will start outside of row number 1 in today's race. Number 1, Donnie Allison.
Ken, we're down here with Donnie as he gets strapped up and ready to go. Donnie, a year ago, the last lap, one of the most memorable and exciting and perhaps most discouraging moments for you in your racing career. Again, this year, what if Donnie Allison leads it down the backstretch on the final lap? What does he do?
Well, Brock, I just hope I don't get knocked out like I did last year.
That's it from down here, Ken. Believe me, it's going to get wild. Stick around.
Ned Jarrett is standing by with the man on the pole. He's the hard luck driver of this race. He's been here since 1961 trying to win it. Buddy Baker.
I know the feeling. I was here for 7 years trying to win this race myself, but it always eluded me. I came close in 1963 with a third-place finish. Buddy Baker, what's going through your mind right now? You've been here for a week and are really keyed up.
Well, Ned, you know, this is the worst part of all right now, getting ready to go. I got a little butterflies or what have you. As soon as the green flag drops, it's just like anything else. It's a job to do, but right now, anticipation, hoping the car don't do what it did last year. But, you know, it misfired right on the start, and I never got a chance to even participate. But if it runs like it ought to, I'll be seeing you over in the victory circle later on.
Ken, he acts mighty calm there right now, but I've been standing here about 5 minutes, and he's a very nervous individual.
So let's wish them all well. As you saw last year, it was a thundering herd that had all kinds of problems. There were a lot of caution flags in the race. We've had a lot over the past 3 days. Buddy Baker, the man on the pole, earlier had promised me the opportunity for a ride around this racetrack if he made it to the pole. And so for the 4th time in his career, he pulled it off. 2nd year in a row. He's on the pole. And as promised, he gave me a ride around the Daytona track, but it wasn't quite the kind of vehicle that I had had in mind.
I didn't realize that number 3 and 4 corner was that much bigger than 1 and 2.
What are your qualifications to fly this thing?
Well, I'm not very well checked out. As you can see, we're porpoising just a little bit, but I'm thinking a little, you know, if you spend a little time in it, you get it where you can hang it out a little bit in the corners.
Roger, Buddy, will this be your 500?
Well, Ken, I'm certainly going to try because, you know, I've told you 100 times that I guess of all the places that I want to win at, Daytona's it. I've had so much hard times, you know, just trying to finish the race, much less winning it. I've been very close on many occasions, but I believe this year, in an all-out effort, I'm best prepared that I've ever been.
One of the most dramatic things we saw last year in the 500 was early in the going when you fell by the wayside, and I sort of got the feeling watching those pictures you were saying, what is it with me that this is not going my way and never has?
You know, you begin to wonder if it's you or maybe you're not supposed to win at this particular racetrack, but this happens too. to most everybody in racing. They have one racetrack that they have a lot of problems at winning at, but eventually I'll win here. A win at Daytona is the most important, and, well, I'm still young enough. I got years to do it in, but I believe that this year I have the best chance I've ever had.
One of the gentlest of people, one of the most brutal race drivers, Buddy Baker, on the pole, and we'll see him rolling out in just a matter of moments for the start of the Daytona 500. When we return, the field should be just about set to get the command to fire the engines, and 42 cars will come to life here at Daytona. "42 drivers have cinched up the seat belts, about to make war under combat conditions for $660,000. But just 2 hours ago, these same drivers who will attempt to outdrive, outthink, outbrave each other at 195 miles per hour were joined together in a far different setting, a setting which is duplicated every Sunday morning prior to a Grand National race. It is a most unusual flock. The men who live in the fast lane, who turn their garage and grimy workbenches into a place of worship each race morning, shared by hero and mechanic alike. And their spiritual leader, the Reverend Bill Baird's only vestments are a sateen racing jacket.
The Gospel of Mark. I may have used it a couple of times previously, but I want to use it again today. Let me stop right here and say this morning, that one question is the question being asked by mankind all over the world today. Not necessarily how can I inherit eternal life, but how can I have eternal peace?
This is a tightly knit fraternity. It's really a family outfit, and you know, it means a lot to them, I think, to have their own pastor, their own minister, and you know, church on Sunday is just like, you know, church in any downtown city, except we're out here and they're down there.
The question is, what are you going to do with Christ? This is the beginning of my second year to be with you fellas. And some of you have been to almost every service. And you've listened attentively and you've heard every word that I've said. And I've preached nothing but Christ and Him crucified, have I?
That 30 minutes that we spend together on Sunday morning, even though we're going to be maybe rubbing fenders at 200 miles an hour, we're going to be very close throughout the race, and I feel like that's probably as close as we'll ever get is in that church services on Sunday morning.
Father, I pray for these drivers today that you watch over them as they run this race. I pray for these crew members and all the mechanics that you bless them, Lord, and keep them safe. Our families that are at home, that you would watch over them. Most of all, Father, help us to have the courage to do what in our hearts we know is right. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you and God bless you.
The command to fire the engines will be given in a matter of moments. A crowd, you see, has gathered. They are in their seats waiting. And let's go to the command.
All right, Bill, let's fire him up down there, Ernie. Fire him up.
Away from the control tower, and now let's go down on pit road. Augie Bush, the third, the Grand Marshal, 42 years old, giving the command for 42 race cars to breathe life. Bill Gasaway, race director in the control tower. Field ready to roll out.
There'll be about 17,000 horsepower on the move any minute.
There you see Donnie Allison. And there you see the camera in the car, our CBS Live camera. Again this year it rests with Benny Parsons, and you're looking out through his windshield now as he gets set to pull out. Benny Parsons starting in 14th position. You're going to be riding right there in the car with him again today. 1975 winner of this event.
It only adds about 20 pounds to the car. Apparently some people question whether it's wise to have the camera in there, but Benny's very happy with it.
And there you see the immensity of the Daytona 500. Approximately 100,000, 130,000 have gathered here today. Inspectors are checking the temperature in the cars right now. They were warmed up back in the garage area this morning, mostly by heaters. It is a very cool day here today, David.
It could be a rather unfortunate factor for some of these guys that they don't get these cars warmed up good and proper before they really get under speed. Some of the more fragile engines are liable to let go because of the extreme oil pressure.
All right, Pete, what are we looking like down there? We're going.
You can see them all standing there with the blankets over the front, stopping any natural air getting in.
Here, Bill Gasaway checking all around the racetrack, the different security points, the different observer points before he'll turn them loose. There's Baker. He's been second, he's been third, he's been fifth, he's been wrecked so many times here since 1961, trying to win this race. He loves to go fast. He loves this speedway. Some drivers have reservations about a 2.5-mile track, but not Baker.
He certainly loves to go fast. I'm sure he's changed the setting of his car from the NASCAR Clash of last week when he had to slip off the pace. The car got very loose on him, which is the fastest way to run, but not often the easiest. For the race, they set him a little bit tighter to make the car easy to drive, but he sure likes going fast.
You're watching live. The field will be taking 2 preliminary laps before they are given the green flag today.
All right, how about it, Joe?
Checking with those front cars as the gauges come up. There you see Richard Petty in the second row, and beside him, Neil Bonnet.
Well, Joe,
Bonnet has really been impressive in the past 5 days. As you saw yesterday on the CBS Sports Spectacular, he won one of the 125-mile qualifying races by about 3 to 5 feet, and 5 cars finished less than a half-second apart, David.
Well, if we get racing like that today, we're in for one exciting day, because there's obviously twice as many cars out there, and all the hot runners are out there.
22 Oldsmobiles, and there is Dale Earnhardt's car, a blue car with yellow piping on the top. We'll be isolating on Earnhardt. He'll be starting back in the 32nd position. 22 Oldsmobiles, 6 Buicks, 7 Chevrolets, 4 Mercurys, 2 Dodges, 1 Ford in the field.
It's unusual for them to let these cars warm up as long as this, but it's obviously a very wise precaution on a cool day.
And they're talking about rolling 3 times around now. You just heard Bill Gasaway saying there may be 3. Now they're telling the crews they must leave the cars.
Same thing, they want to get those cars good and warm before they start this race, because there's nothing worse than someone splitting a transmission or a rear end out there on this track with a whole mass of cars bunched up. It could be very disastrous.
Temperature is 49 degrees, and for these pit crews who've cuddled these cars and babied them and massaged them, now these 3,700-pound brutes come to full life, and you see them moving down pit road and towards 500 miles of action. oil temperature is reported is still too cool, says Bill Gazaway, and that is the reason for the 3 warm-up laps. Ladies and gentlemen, your starting grid for this 22nd Daytona 500. Front row, Buddy Baker and Donnie Allison. In row 2, the Wood Brothers car with Neil Bonnet and the 6-time champion Richard Petty. Row 3, the 2-time Daytona champion CALE Yarborough, and the guy from the Midwest, Johnny Anderson, who's been a big surprise here. Row 4, Darrell Waltrip and Joe Milliken in car 72. In row 5, it's Bobby Allison, the former winner with the Bud Moore car, and Harry Gant. In row 6, the 1972 Daytona champion, the great A.J. Foyt and Lenny Pond, the Virginian. Row 7 is Marcus and another former winner with our CBS camera, number 27, Benny Parsons. Row 8, from the far west, Portland, Oregon, Chuck Bound and Ty Scott, the great Pennsylvania campaigner. Row 9, Terry Labonte, and look how well Janet Guthrie qualified. Row 10 is Cecil Gordon and the Winston Western champion Bill Schmidt. In row 11 is Kevin Housby and Richard Childress. In row 12 comes Don Whittington of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Bill Elliott. In row 13 is J.D. McDuffie and Jimmy Means. Row 14, it's Jody Ridley and the Junior Don Levy car and Joe Bohr, just assigned to that machine this morning. In the 15th row, Tommy Gale and Jim Hurlburt, who picked up an assignment this morning. Row 16 is Buddy Arrington out of Virginia, and there's Dale Earnhardt with him in 32nd position. Ronnie Thomas and Johnny Utzman from Tennessee in row 17. Row 18 is Bruce Hill and the alfalfa farmer Cuckoo Marlin from Tennessee. Row 19, James Hilton and Bill Elswick making it into the field. Row 20, rookie Slick Johnson and Jim Vandiver, a real veteran. And out back, the 21st row is Richard Brooks and Bill Whittington, the other Whittington brother, in the field.
We should probably have a camera isolated on that back row as well to keep our eye on young Bill. He's a fiery driver, at least, can be said about him.
CALE Yarborough resting back in this field, coming from 5th position. His mental control the most important factor as the race goes on.
2 more laps to go.
The competition this year is going to be so strong that you're just going to have to run just as hard as you can possibly run for 500 miles and hope all the equipment holds up and hope you're at the end. I don't think, I really don't see any runaway whatsoever in any kind of strategy other than just flat out all day.
CALE Yarborough, that's definitely the strategy. Flat out all day, David.
I think it's going to have to be, because there's so many fast runners in there this year. I make it there's about 11 probable winners and another 6 possibles, and just no one's going to be able to leave off at all. 4 stories high, 31-degree banking, west end of the speedway. Now you see the cars going down that 3,000-foot backstretch. Richard Petty, the man who's won this race more than anyone, 6 times. It's a phenomenon. Everybody tries so hard. He just seems to win here. How will you win another one, Richard?
Wide open all day long, Ned. You know, we're really not running that good. We're not running that bad either, I guess. But every race I've run down here the last 3 or 4 years, it's been a wide open race, and everybody runs as wide open as they can all day, and just they don't have no trouble. And if the man with the less trouble is going to wind up winning.
The field is in the east banking now, and this is the most difficult part of the track. For some reason, this has become accident alley just out of turn number 4. Let's go to Ned Jarrett in the pits.
Ken, the tires that they'll be using here today, here's a cutaway of one of the tires, and you can see the thickness. It's very thin compared to a street tire, which is about 3 times as thick. Of course, the street tire is also treaded. The tires they'll be racing with here today have a slick surface. They need the slick surface to keep the heat down, and also the thinness to keep from generating too much heat. This tire has a tube inside. It has a tire inside of the tire and then a tube inside of that. So actually it's a 3-piece of equipment that they use, where this is just a tubeless tire. Quite a difference in a street tire and the tires being used here today.
1 lap to go. Hugh Carter Jr., their honorary starter, indicating 1 lap to go. Car in the pits, number 19. This had a change of drivers. Bill Dennis was scheduled to go in 19, and then they changed at the last moment with that machine. And it will be J.D. McDuffie starting the car. McDuffie replacing Bill Dennis.
What a terrible way to start the race. To go back to those tires of Ned's, you know, with a 4,000-pound car going around that banking, which, as you've already said, is 4 stories high at 195 miles an hour, you need all the strength you can get in the tire.
All right, the field is to get the green, this time by and they will be underway. Someone 500 miles later will be $75,000 richer. Now you're with Benny Parsons in the back straightaway as he prepares for the start. Remember now, number 27, the car you're riding with, is starting in 14th position, and I guarantee you he's going to give you a ride.
There's Chuck Bound from out west pulling up alongside him.
The field is midway down the backstretch. Next time through at that particular juncture of the track, they'll be traveling in excess of 190 miles an hour. Talk about rush hour traffic. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. The Daytona 500 is now approaching turn number 3. Hugh Carter Jr. is standing in the flag stand. We understand the president is watching. This is one of his favorite events, as are all the Grand National Tour events. Now we're going to the control tower with Bill Gazaway as he brings the field down for the start.
Stand in the big bog if you want to come off that corner, because they're so
now, when you come on off the corner, they'll pick on up to you, 24. All right, they're coming on up on you now, 24. You can go come in whenever you're ready. Okay, Harold, they're all yours. Wait out, Harold.
Light goes green. And the Daytona 500 for the 22nd time is underway. Blazing down into turn number 1, 42 Grand National drivers, and going to the point is car number 28. Buddy Baker is on the inside and taking the lead. Donnie Allison going to second, Neil Bonnet in third, Richard Petty is in fourth as they exit turn 2. Dale Earnhardt back there in 32nd position, trying to bust out through traffic. We'll be isolating on him as he roars up through traffic. Backstretch, wheel to wheel the leaders. Baker on the inside, Donnie Allison high into turn 3. Remember, Earnhardt started in 32nd position, and he should make a very strong move in the next 2 laps. Everybody is still in proper order from the initial start as they come around to complete lap number 1.
Well, as you say, the grid hasn't changed. It's just going about 6 times as fast as it was before. A lot of dust on the track. You can see that's very unnerving on these opening laps. Dust, paper, all sorts of stuff flying in the drivers' faces.
As they enter turn 1, Earnhardt begins to move in on cars in the back. He has jumped 10 automobiles, but the pressure is on the leader. There's Earnhardt down the inside beneath Cecil Gordon. Look at him fly. He had an engine problem that put him back to 32nd position in the 125-mile qualifier for the lead. Bonnet is into second. Baker comes back on the inside. Allison is the man on the point. Here's Benny Parsons in number 27, riding right behind Bound as he hits the banking. Straightaway, coming down by us, and once again you see Donnie Allison into the tri-oval, leading lap number 2. 200 laps of competition. Here's Baker coming to the inside to challenge Allison for the lead. Neil Bonnet rides in third. Baker retakes the lead.
Baker pulling a bit of a gap out there, but Donnie Allison's probably going to come whistling up behind him on that straight. We've seen tremendous power from Donnie Allison this week. He won the 125-mile heat. I wouldn't say with consummate ease, but he certainly made it look relatively easy, if you can call lapping at 195 easy. Buddy Baker.
Second lap at 194.3 miles per hour. That lap number 2 by Baker. And everybody, they're all in there together.
You can see that bump in turn 4, which has caused a lot of accidents this week.
Back to the stripe, completing the third of 200 laps. Baker in front, Allison in second, Bonnet in third, Richard Petty maintaining the 4th position. Holding on to 5th is Joe Milliken. Going 6th is Darrell Waltrip. Out of turn 2, 14 cars in the lead draft. Baker breaks away by 6 car lengths, and watch them overhaul him as they go down that 3,000-foot area behind Lake Lloyd. Working lap number 4 of 200 with Baker in front. This car has tremendous power. Waddell Wilson and company have done a tremendous job on the engines. Many people say this will be a Ford's day. They draft so well here in 1980 at the Daytona Speedway. Earnhardt is now moving to 19th position. He started 32nd. Dale Earnhardt has now clambered into the 19th spot.
Dale Earnhardt's just on his own out there temporarily, so he's looking for a draft to catch up with this leading group, who obviously have got a tremendous draft going forward.
Look at Baker pulling away. There you see the man who's out in front trying to win his first Daytona 500, an effort that began back when this track literally began, 1961.
Donnie Allison's dropping way back. He's dropping down to the inside on the back chute, and he's dropped right to the back of that lead group.
There's Richard Brooks, number 7, running out behind the field.
Now, he's the sort of guy that Dale Earnhardt needs to find so they can drag themselves up to that lead group.
Fire speed shot and then down to the front another time. Baker stays in front. Neil Bonnet hammers away in second. Richard Petty in third. Milliken to fourth. And here you see Darrell Waltrip's number 88 moving into the 5th position. It is very tight running, and the laps are in excess of 194 miles per hour. Now Bonnet begins to overhaul Baker. Neil Bonnet in the Wood Brothers car moves in, looking for his first Daytona 500 win. Bonnet on the attack. Richard Petty pulls up.
Neil Bonnet's car on its own seems to be incapable of going much over 190, whereas Buddy can run 196. But in a draft, that car of Bonnet's is something else.
Coming down to complete the 6th lap. 194 to go. Third Petty, fourth Milliken, 5th Waltrip. John Anderson runs in the 6th position. Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, obviously everybody is wondering what happened to Donnie Allison. I checked with Haas Ellington, his car owner and crew chief. He says the car is loose. So that means that the suspension is not behaving in this draft the way it should be. So Donnie's just going to try to hang in there in the hunt until the first pit stop when they can make the adjustments and put him back in.
I think that's one of the problems that the Oldsmobiles have been having all this week, and that's where Neil Bonnet is really strong.
Baker's last lap, 46 3/10 seconds, 193.1 mile per hour average for Buddy Baker, trying to hold off the field in the Daytona 500. Well, let's stay with Earnhardt.
Who's Dale drafting there?
Now, who is Earnhardt with now?
Yellow car, is that not...
Cale is in 7th.
Dale's 14th now, and he's on his own again.
Is that AJ in 8th?
Janet Guthrie's having a heck of a race with Terry Labonte, just the two of them right in the middle of the sort of a big gap. Might be a bad idea to show her, I guess. Okay.
We're back with you at the Daytona International Speedway, where they are working the 10th lap of the Daytona 500, 25 miles down, 190 laps, 475 miles to go. 10 cars are running in the lead lap. Here they are. It is Baker running first, Bonnet in second, Milliken's third, Petty fourth. Running in the 5th position is the Darrell Waltrip car. Waltrip just maintaining 5th. Then comes Johnny Anderson holding on to 6th place. A.J. Foyt is now in the 7th position. Cale Yarborough running in 9th. Then comes the Allison car, Bobby Allison, and running out back of that pack is the machine being driven by Dave Marcus. Marcus is number 71, who was hurt yesterday. Here's Benny Parsons down the back straightaway at 190 miles per hour, closing ground.
There you... That's Donnie Allison. Now maybe we can see how loose Donnie Allison's car is. Although it'll be a bit difficult to tell from this shot.
You heard the audio from in the car of Benny Parsons as it was floating down into the corner. The leaders completing their 11th lap, with still Baker on the point and Neil Bonnet putting on the pressure.
Because in a way, it behoves these 11 leaders to just stay exactly like they are in a long line like that, because they're all getting the best draft they possibly can get and pulling themselves away from any possible contenders further on down the field.
From the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, the field now on that back straightaway. All in good soldierly fashion, headed for turn number 3, David.
Yeah, those front two are good shoulders, aren't they? Shoulder to shoulder. As Neil Bonnet hangs right in there with Buddy Baker. Look at that great shot. You can see how turn 4 is just a little bit tighter than turn 3. And it's not until you're up in the air in that blimp that you really get the feel for that.
Baker coming by in first, Bonnet in second, Milliken third, Petty fourth, Waltrip fifth, Anderson sixth, Yarborough moving to 7th, and falling back to 8th is A.J. Foyt, with 9th Bobby Allison, and in 10th Dave Marcus. Those are the front 10, and they are running in a lead draft. Nobody able to shake out of that thing except Donnie Allison falling back. As you saw from our pictures with Benny Parsons' car, running a tad loose in the back end. First 10 laps, average 193.548 miles per hour, and you've seen a new record for the first 10 laps, 25 miles of competition. Number 44, Terry LaBounty, running in 19th position, has pulled onto pit road. LaBounty, the 19th position car out of Corpus Christi, Texas, is now on pit road early in the race.
There we see the leaders coming up to overtake 3 of the slower cars here. One of whom is Lenny Pond, the yellow number 74.
The car in the back of that lead pack of 10 cars, 71 Dave Marcus, is driving hurt today. He crashed yesterday in the Sportsman race and broke a rib when he ran into the back of a car as he was coming down for the finish of the Sportsman 300 yesterday afternoon. So he is hurting as he continues to stay with that lead pack. Dale Earnhardt starting so far back in car number 2. Do you have a chance to win this race?
Starting back in 32nd position, it's you know, a game I don't have to play is waiting and just picking my way through the pack. Just try to get there quick as I can before the leaders get too far out away from the rest of the field, and just, you know, it's 500 miles. That's a long way.
Dale Earnhardt now in 14th position. There you see him right behind Donnie Allison, closing ground.
Because one of his problems is if they don't have any yellow flags for a long time and they come round to regular pit stops on the green, they could in fact lap him.
We have a new leader. Neil Bonnet has assumed first place. Buddy Baker is back to second as they continue to shuffle on the back straightaway. Here's another challenge for the lead. It's Baker back in front. Richard Petty going to second. A far different Petty strategy today than we've seen in past 500s. He's running with the leaders.
That's Harry Gant into the pits.
The Race Hill Farms car from Connecticut making an early stop. That in the 14th lap as he came in, Harry Gant.
Had a good day yesterday, coming second in the Sportsman 300, but not so good today.
Still 10 cars for the lead. Petty is now in second. Baker is in front. Now, Petty usually hangs back a bit out of this kind of thing in the early going, but today he's right up there battling for the lead early on, seeking an unprecedented 7th win in this race.
Oh, for an old codger of 42, old Richard Petty doesn't exactly hang around. I must say that his fighting spirit is just incredible. He's been doing this for 20-odd years now, and he never gives up. Look at him right there.
His son was in an incredible crash here in the twin 125 races, eliminating car number 42 from the event. Earnhardt is now 8 3/10 seconds. That car number 2 of Dale Earnhardt is 8 3/10 seconds down to the lead car. Now he's trying to close on Allison. Remember, he is back in 14th, and he's trying right here to pick up some positions. There you see Benny Parsons.
That's a good
just
group.
that pack. He's in 11th. There are the leaders. Out of turn number 2. Back straightaway, Baker pulling away, and Earnhardt is making his move on the back straightaway. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, you mentioned the fact that Dave Marcus was injured yesterday in the Sportsman 300. We talked to him just before they rolled off of the line. He says he's sore. He has some injured ribs, but he doesn't think it'll affect him here today. But this is a very strenuous race, both physically and mentally, so we'll keep our eye on him and see if it does affect his driving out there as the race goes on.
The top 10 back to complete their 17th lap this time by. 17 laps complete on the 10 leaders, and there is Earnhardt moving in and getting around Benny Parsons as he swept by 3 automobiles. Now Parsons closes ground again. You're riding with Benny Parsons through the tri-oval.
Dale Earnhardt's pulled himself up well. He used this group. It's a pretty good group. Benny Parsons, Ty Scott, and Donnie Allison. And Dale's leapfrog past all of them.
Lead machine, car number 28, Buddy Baker, trying to pull away from the field. Richard Petty attempting to contain him. The front 10 still riding on rails out here in the Daytona 500. Boy, we got off that number 2 at the wrong time. No, on the high camera, not the inside camera, the high camera. Just 16 laps, 40 miles, Dale Earnhardt worked his way from 32nd into the 11th position. Now we're watching the leaders, Baker in front. We are running at the present time of the 19th lap, 47.5 miles down. When they have finished 19, when they come around this time, they will have finished their 20th lap. Working lap 20 and completing lap 20. Here's your leader, Baker. And we have another car coming down on the pit road. Looks like one of the leaders coming in. 88. Waltrip. Smoke coming out of car number 88. Waltrip pitting. Meanwhile, the leader is up in turn 2.
Now that may bring out a yellow flag. If he's dropping a lot of oil, that could bring out a yellow flag.
In the pits. Here you see Waltrip's car. Hood is up. Let's go to Brock.
Ken, the hood is up, as you can see. I'm going to try to get over here to talk to Darrell. Darrell, what's the problem?
I blew.
That's very succinct. What a report. I blew. That means
helmet's off.
He's out for the day. No question about that.
Darrell Waltrip, one of the favorites to win it, is out in the 20th lap. 50 miles into the race, and it's all over for the Nygaard team today. Darrell Waltrip out of action, climbing out of his automobile and walking away. That is a hard one. This is the one he wanted.
Darrell's had a lot of heartbreaks. He so nearly won the national championship last year and lost it by just a couple of points, as we saw on CBS last year. And of course, he came a very close second in this race last year.
Jim Hurlbert's car number 79 is also showing some smoke as the field works in the 22nd lap, 55 miles when they come around this time. Ned Jarrett is standing by in the garage area. Let's go to Ned.
We're standing by Harry Gant, who is out of the race temporarily. Harry, what's wrong?
After about the third lap, car started losing power. Got weaker and weaker there, and it's went to a dead miss. I think it might be a valve spring or something broke.
Are they going to try to fix it?
They're going to check it out and see if we can. Hope so.
Ken, as you can see, Gant is still in his car, hoping he can get back in the race.
Now, last year, they used to change engines during the race, but that's been outlawed this year in terms for economy. And so if anything's really badly wrong, he's going to be out of the race.
Lead change. Here's Baker back in front again, averaging 194 miles per hour, 194.805 in his last lap. You're watching Buddy Baker out in front. And we have a host of changes coming on as those leaders hustle back into the tri-oval to complete their 23rd lap. Going to second spot is CALE Yarborough. Petty to third, Neil Bonnet in fourth as they hammer down into turn number 1. Back to Brock Yates.
Ken, I've got Darrell with me now. He's regained a little bit of his composure after that terrific disappointment. Did you have any warning at all before she blew, Darrell?
Yeah, I really did. When we took the green flag, I started telling them it wasn't running. It was running on 7 cylinders. We ran the whole race last year on 7 cylinders. I thought maybe we could do it again this year, but wasn't to be. You know, we've been down all the time. We've been here 10 days. We haven't run well. We didn't qualify well. I've never won a thing since I've been here. I didn't run the sportsman race. It's been a very, very, very disappointing week.
We're sorry. Better luck next time. Not a happy man today, Ken. Back to you.
Well, as Darrell said yesterday, one of the competitors dropped out of the sportsman race. He said, that's racing. And the next time someone says that to me, I shall personally place his tongue in the back of his throat. Because it's...
Car number 30. Ty Scott on pit road, and that's been for a sizable time. Ty Scott, who qualified very well and ran the 125-miler in exceedingly good order this year in the Harry Hyde car, and the car is still up on the jack. It has been in now for a couple of laps. Earnhardt is now losing ground to the leaders, now 12 seconds back. He was 8 seconds back. He sure could use a caution flight, get up with that lead draft.
Well, one of his problems, of course, is he hasn't got a good draft to use. He was, in fact, with Ty Scott, and they were going very well together. Now Ty's pulled in. Dale's left out there with no draft.
Ty Scott has just come back on the track. Ty Scott, number 30, is back on the track.
Meanwhile, the leaders, of course, have an absolutely perfect situation. 6 or 7 cars there, dragging each other along at a tremendous pace and pulling away handily from the rest of the field, which includes, of course, Dale Earnhardt. And this is the big problem with starting a long way back in these races.
25 laps, 62.5 miles complete, 175 laps to go. Baker keeps his nose right up in front, tries to anyway. CALE Yarborough hangs right there with him now. Yarborough moved up to the slingshot and hammers right in there.
Of course, another guy who's absolutely desperate for yellow flag at caution will be Donnie Allison to try and get that car of his squared away.
As the leaders come by, Neil Bonnet hangs on to the back of the draft, and then it's a few feet back to the 4th place automobile. The front 4 are breaking away. Here you see that quartet down into turn number 1. And they have finally, off some lap cars, shook free of some of the other machines that were running in that lead draft, and they'll continue to try to pare it down as this race goes on, and naturally those behind will try to get right back up in that choo-choo train.
What they really want to do, of course, is get it down to just 2 of them. Nothing would suit Buddy Baker better than to just be with him and say Donnie Allison.
Change of lead. Car number 28, Baker, on the high side, goes back around. The 2nd place car number 11, CALE Yarborough, Petty hanging in there. Off some lap cars. Baker nosing his way through the lap machinery and comes back to the tri-oval another time, completing 27 laps.
Dick Brooks and Terry Labonte have just been put a lap down there.
As they work the 28th lap, we go back to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, Ty Scott was running in the top 5 before he made an unscheduled pit stop. They went under the hood. He said he had lost a cylinder, he thought. While he was in, they changed all 4 tires. They're keeping an eye on him, and he's back in the pits right now again. They're going back under the hood. So Ty Scott having his problems here today, and it looks like they could be out of it before too long.
Very high crew going back to work on Scott as the leaders come around to complete the 28th lap in the 22nd run into the Daytona 500. 70 miles completed, 430 to go, and yet to see a caution flag on the speedway. Continues with Buddy Baker. Can he do it after all those years of trying? Finally have one go his way in the greatest stock car race of them all.
Yeah, we do. Just back a bit. They've dropped back alarmingly. I can't understand how they suddenly got so far back. Okay.
Where's 51 in here?
Who's that with him? Joe Milliken, isn't it? Yeah.
Celtics-Seattle game. Bruce Hill has just pitted car number 50 as we work the 29th lap. Tommy Gale of McKeesport, Pennsylvania, in the number 64 car. He's coming back on the track as well. The lead pack of 4 cars, there you see them, working their 30 31st lap on these lead cars going into turn number 1. Baker still in front, Yarborough in second, Petty in third, Neil Bonnet in fourth. That's the front four. And we have a good battle. John Anderson has fallen out into 5th spot a little further back. And then a good battle for 6th position with A.J. Foyt stomping on it out here this afternoon and trying to stay in this hunt along with Dave Marcus. And there you see that battle. There's the blue car of Marcus now around A.J. Foyt.
And Joe Milliken's in that group as well. They're having a good race, but they seem to have lost about 6 seconds on the leaders suddenly. I mean, they must have got caught up in traffic somewhere, lost the draft, and that's what happened. And that's what's happened to poor old Dale Earnhardt, of course. He's still out there somewhere.
Leaders coming down into turn 1 in their 32nd lap. Still Baker in front. They're willing to let him run out front. CALE Yarborough in the number 11 car, who's won this race in 1968 and 1977, trying again. And there you see Cecil Gordon's car on pit road. Originally from Horseshoe, North Carolina, now out of Roanoke Rapids. Cecil Gordon in the pits. Tire change. So Baker continues to hold off CALE Yarborough. Petty stays right there with him. And then running in the 4th position is still Neil Bonnet. Bonnet, a very solid competitor here all week long. Following that front 4 is the car of Richard Brooks, a lap car, as well as Terry LaBounty, who was in on an early unscheduled pit stop. John Anderson has fallen back, and up into 5th position goes Dave Marcus. A.J. Foyt is now in 6th, and that battle, the second squabble on the racetrack. Coming up later today, it's the Boston Celtics against Seattle. That ought to be some humdinger of an NBA contest today, as Larry Bird will be in action with the Celtics. Don't miss it, against Seattle following this Daytona 500.
What is going to be exciting in about 8 laps, or maybe a hair less, maybe somewhere between 6 and 10, we're going to have some pit stops on the green. We're going to see an awful lot of action in those pit lanes. At
30 laps, 75 miles, we had a new track record of 193.687 miles per hour. 193.687. That's really humming.
That sure is.
The old mark was 182. They'd had some cautions by then.
A.J. Foyt's pulling over to the side. He's slowing right up. A.J. Foyt is out of that group, racing for second.
Problems on A.J. Foyt's automobile. Dave Marcus runs a sound 5th with his car, number 71, and going to 6 is Joe Milliken. Johnny Anderson is now in 7th. Anderson has really been impressive. He's been here 3 times before at Daytona, but running in the modified race where he's been on the pole on 2 occasions.
He's putting on a good show this week. He's been consistently fast in qualifying.
Bonnet pitting. Neil Bonnet, number 21, one of the 4 hot contenders, comes in on the 34th lap. This should be a scheduled stop. And watch the choreography as they come over the wall. Ned Jarrett.
This is a scheduled pit stop for him, Ken. The Fords don't seem to get quite as good a gas mileage as the General Motors cars. Of course, they changed the right side tires and fill it up with gasoline. They should do it in about 14 or 15 seconds.
Bobby Allison is also on pit road. A.J. Foyt running very slowly in the back straightaway. A.J. used up 3 engines just trying to qualify for this race. It has not been a good 1980 Daytona 500 for Supertech's A.J. Foyt. Allison is coming back on the track, being pushed away by the Moore crew after a tremendous pit stop. We see Kevin Housby coming onto pit road. Let's see who among the leaders will be next to dive down in. Car number 28, the lead automobile, is now on pit road. The Wynn Racing team of Harry Ranier comes to a stop. And the Waddell Wilson crew is over the wall. Meanwhile, CALE Yarborough picks up the lead. Number 11, Yarborough is in front with Richard Petty in second. It is pit stop time. Critical here.
Joe Milliken's in the pits.
There's the pit stop on Buddy Baker's car. 13.5 seconds and he's underway.
Benny Parsons, Donnie Allison, Chuck Bound into the pits. Donnie Allison will be doing some adjustments on his car, so his pit stop may be just a little bit longer than some of these others.
Milliken coming in. A.J. Foyt struggling to get on pit road. The car limps as faster cars move around him. CALE Yarborough is in. There's Benny Parsons in. And here he comes back on the track. And already you can see that windshield, and they say A.J. may be out of gas. A.J. Foyt has not had an engine cave in, but he may be out of gas. Car number 7, Richard Brooks, his new car, Tire rubbing on the left side. Richard Petty back straightaway. Foyt on pit road. Crew going to work. Let's go to Brock. Brock Yates.
Ken, we're in the pit with AJ. Boy, I'll tell you, that is one angry man. He ran out of gas. He's got the engine started now. They've changed the outside tires. AJ kicked it.
Caution on the speedway. There's been a crash in turn 2. A caution coming out amidst these pit stops. That's a break for some, an unhappiness for others as Richard Petty is coming in.
Can you believe that?
They're going to send him out.
Can you believe Richard Petty's luck at Daytona Speedway? Everybody stops on the green. Richard comes in and a yellow goes out. That could give him a lap on the field just like that.
Here's Richard Petty back on the track. He had come on pit road, was just slowing down, and on the radio they said, hustle, get yourself out there and get back on the speedway. So Petty is out. We're getting a report now on what has happened in turn number 2 for you.
Don Whittington saying the same thing.
And I think we can see right now what developed up there, which has brought out the first caution of the day, which happened in the 35th lap. 2 cars breaking away. Looked like someone may have lost an engine.
Is that Chuck Bound?
That's Chuck Bound for sure, the Portland, Oregon runner, former Western champion. And the other car was Kevin Housby. Kevin Housby, whose father is a truck dealer out in Iowa and has brought cars down here for years. The Drake University student in car number 8, having trouble up there on the west banking, along with Chuck Bound, and those 2 cars are out of it, and it creates the first caution period of the afternoon. The field is now working in the 37th lap. 92.5 miles are down, 407.5 to go, 163 laps remaining. Leaders coming around.
Housby's car's all right because he just in fact drove by here.
Looked like Chuck Bound's car might have been in contact with the wall. We'll look at that again in a moment as car number 68, the Jim Testa car, was spinning, careening through turn number 2. Now Buddy Baker's number 28 is in for left side tires on pit road, and the number 17 car, which was scheduled for Roger Hamby and given to Don Whittington this morning, is on pit road. Here's Baker and his crew making a left side tire change. And apparently a problem on the rear tire. A little problem getting the lug nuts off on the rear tire, or tightening them up to be more proper. Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, the problem was an impact wrench that the compressed air wrench that they used to take these lug nuts off didn't operate, so they had to make a quick change, and of course they lost a couple of precious seconds.
Not quite so important under the yellow situation that we have now under caution. Would have been a disaster on a green pit stop, which of course he's already made one. And that could give Richard Petty, as I say, a whole lap lead.
At 30 laps, in the race, 75 miles. Here's Petty now pitting. We had a new record of 193.6 miles per hour. Let's go to Ned Jerry.
Well, Richard Petty came in just a moment ago as that caution was coming out. Ken, he had already committed himself to come down pit road. They're going to change all 4 tires now that they're doing it under the caution period. His crew is hoping, as you said, that he did pick up a lap. Of course, we'll have to wait on the NASCAR scoring to see indeed if he did pick up a lap by being able to make his stop under caution, where most of them had made theirs under green.
Petty is away, changing all 4 tires. All 4 tires, mind you, taking on a tank of fuel in 30 and 6 seconds. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station. Got a feature we can run? One to go. One to go next time by. No time for the feature. Okay. 39 laps are complete. They're working the 40th lap. When they come by this time, they will have completed the first 100 of the Daytona 500 miles in this 22nd go, and they will be getting green when they come around this time. With David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire in the control tower here at the Daytona International Speedway. And down in the pits, Ned Jarrett, Brock Yates, bringing you the action live and complete of this, the classic of American stock car racing. The leader, as we prepare for this race to go back to green, will be our CBS camera car. Benny Parsons will have appropriated first place. Going into second position will be car number 28. Buddy Baker will be riding in second spot. With a third position, Donnie Allison, who was having trouble earlier. Hopefully they'll get that car tightened up and be able to win. And there you see what it looks like when you're riding out in front. Benny Parsons, already the windshield a little bespattered out there from the first 100 miles of competition.
All the bespattering's one thing. The other problem is they get scratched very badly from this sand around here, and it gradually shot beans the windscreen, and by the end of the afternoon they're very difficult to see out of.
Coming down for the start, and we're going to start the race. You're riding with Benny Parsons as he picks up speed in the 31-degree banking. Here he comes down out of the fourth turn into Accident Alley, and Buddy Baker is pulling by as the green flag comes out. Baker screaming down. Joe Milliken roars through. Pace car is off. Parsons falling back to fifth position, sixth position on the start. And as they come by, it's evident, one, that Petty did not gain a lap. He simply stayed in the lap with the leaders. And they're reporting that 27 Parsons was running on the tail end of that lap. So with that move, Parsons has now gone one lap down. One car stopped, slowing. One car slowing just at the exit of pit road, working the 42nd lap. And we have a car down at 105 miles. Leaders are in the back straightaway. Baker is in front. CALE Yarborough, as you see, is in second. Richard Petty back and forth. That third spot is Joe Milliken, and now into third moves Neil Bonnet. Milliken drops to fourth, and a caution flag is coming out. They are racing to the flag. Back to the flag, and another caution. Cautions coming back to back as we have a car down, trying to idle its way down. It's Jim Vandiver. Vandiver's number 89 in trouble going to turn number 1. Jim Vandiver having trouble again in the Daytona 500. He's tried a lot of times out here. He's a good race driver, but this one has never been very lucky for him. He's been here since 1971. He was third here in 1972, but he will be a far back. DNF did not finish in this 22nd running of the 500. Jim Vandiver's car getting an assist. So that record at 30 miles looks pretty good, but the record for 40 drops back to 170.535 miles per hour. There's Jim Vandiver of Charlotte, North Carolina. His sister is a very good driver, and she has been driving in the International Sedan Series. The car takes a little life here, and on its own begins to putter around down on the apron of the track. So we are under caution for the second time, and it should be a very short one, perhaps just a lap, and we'll be back underway here in the Daytona 500. Can we get a strategy piece when we come back? What was the record at 40 before? Those guys on the lead lap? One lap and they're going to go. As the field works the 44th lap, completing the 110th mile as they come by this time, Jim Vandiver has come around the track into the pits. Car number 89, which has brought out the second caution of the day, just a lap or two after we had come up to a green flag condition again. One lap and they will be racing. Housby's car, number 8, coming on pit road. Here's a report from Ned Jerry.
Ken Richard Childers made a pit stop of a different sort during the last caution period. You can see the damage to this windshield. He had to change it. He has a new one in there now, and they did it under caution without losing a lap. But they don't expect to do that before they start, but they are prepared to do it just in case. There's a tremendous amount of pressure, wind pressure on the windshield, but something hit his coming off of another car or either kicking up a rock that cracked it, and once the crack was there, the pressure just bursted it open.
The Childress car is running back in 25th position. He is running a couple of laps down from the abuse that car took. Field getting ready on a restart.
It just shows the vagaries of NASCAR racing. The poor old Benny Parsons, with our camera aboard, lost the lap on all that pit stop with the green and the yellow business. He just made a slightly longer stop than the other guys on green. The yellow came out, and there he was, a lap down.
As they line up, Buddy Baker will be in front, Cale Yarborough in second, Neil Bonnet will be in third, Joe Milliken in fourth, Richard Petty in fifth. The Daytona 500, worth darn near $700,000 this year. Field is in the back straightaway, getting ready to come around to take green.
Another front runner to lose out in that shuffle, of course, was Dave Marcus, who's driving out here today with a broken rib. So he's in extreme pain anyway, and now he'll be in extreme mental pain, having lost a lap again under that green and yellow pit stop business.
Car number 90, Joe Lee Ridley, is a lap car down on the inside. The fast car is on the high side, and there you see car number 27, Benny Parsons. Does that camera in the car bother you, Benny? We asked him about that a little earlier, and here's what the man with the CBS camera said.
I don't even know he's there. You know, I mean, if he wants to go for a ride, that's fine, but I really don't, you know, pay any attention to him, and I don't have to flip any switches or do anything else. So he's just going along for a ride, and he don't bother me at all.
So that 20-pound camera is not a bother whatsoever to Benny Parsons in car number 27, and there he is going into turn number 1 as the field assaults the high banks of the west turn.
What is very significant here is that Dale Earnhardt, who started in 32nd place, did not lose a lap and is now running in 7th spot, and in fact is in that leading group right there.
From 32nd up to 7. Boy, he's really had his work cut out, too. For a while, like he was going to get a lap down as he couldn't find anyone to draft with. But now he's with the leaders, and there you see Baker back to the front, Cale Yarborough right behind him.
And these two trying to make a break on the field. There's Neil Bonnet in 3rd spot. He drafted past these two to win one of the 125-mile heats, but they're making a break. A perfect two-car draft. Just look how close together they are. And the more that following bunch race amongst themselves, the further back they'll drop.
Milliken in 4th, and Dale Earnhardt goes to 5th, and now there is a distinct break. There are the two leaders, and now here's Richard Petty and Earnhardt fighting it out, and moving up is Earnhardt. He is now fighting his way. As you see, he is in the 5th position. He is going for 4th on the back straightaway. Earnhardt trying to close some ground. The leaders have drawn away by about 3 seconds. Neil Bonnet leads the 3rd position group. Right behind him is Joe Milliken. Earnhardt rides in 5th. Richard Petty is in 6th as we follow this second battle on the speedway. Down they come. There are the leaders, and there you see the interval between the first two cars, and then in 3rd, Neil Bonnet, Joe Milliken 4th, Earnhardt 5th, Richard Petty in 6th, and another caution is out. Another caution is out. There is debris on the back straightaway. And after a flawless start with no serious incidents to report thus far, we've had 3 cautions. The major crumple of the day was Chuck Bound's effort at number 68 when it spun in turn number 2. But since then, it's been minor matters that have brought out the caution flag, David.
Up to lap 30, we had an absolutely shattering speed of 193 odd miles an hour.
Number 7, that is the Richard Brooks car coming in, and apparently he touched somebody.
Yeah.
Richard Brooks is in with his brand new machine. Observers report the back bumper showing oil on the 05 car as well, the Eslick car. So
he must have touched something pretty hard.
Apparently brushing the wall. Dale Earnhardt in car 2, the new superstar of racing. If you wonder how a driver who just 2 years ago was scrimping along is now a 6-figure-year, 5-year contract driver, listen to this from Dale Earnhardt.
Used to listen to the race on the radio at home and listen to Richard Petty, and
CALE and those guys racing, and I'm dreaming about being there someday myself and wondering what it'd be like. Now I know. And racing with the same guys. Oh, it's great. It's super. There ain't nothing like going fast at Daytona. You don't have to worry about letting off or cracking the gas. You can just go. And it's just the biggest thrill I've ever had. Relax. I can get around the racetrack, and if I got any other troubles in life or anything, I don't think. Just racing, that's it. I can have all kind of problems, and people say, "What, doesn't it bother you on the racetrack? You think about it on the racetrack?" I think about beating the guy in front of me or behind me.
Why would you want to do something that you know darn well could turn around and bite you, could kill you?
I had never wanted to do anything else. I never ever wanted anything as much as I want racing, or enjoy it, or like it, or would give up most anything in life to have it, you know.
Why?
It's born in me, bred in me, I reckon. I think racing, that's all I think, you know. I have let it get in my way of personal feelings a lot of times, and I've chose racing every time.
Any question what you're going to win this Daytona 500?
I think we got a 99% chance of winning, you know, because the team's so pumped up right now. The car looks so good. Everybody's got everything together so well. If I can just put it together on the racetrack, I think we'll win. We've got a good chance.
The Dale Earnhardt definition of commitment. It has brought him from 32nd position to battle with the leaders right up in front, David. A lot of pitting taking place right here. Bill Schmidt is in. Johnny Anderson is on pit road. The Whittington brothers. Tommy Gale's car is in. A lot of folks taking on fuel and tires as we get ready to go. Whoop! A little traffic jam down here on pit road.
There is. There's Bill Whittington, number 40. A rookie here, going for the Rookie of the Year. NASCAR Rookie of the Year this year.
Back to Ned Jarrett.
Again, I'm standing by with Junior Johnson, a Hall of Fame member who won 50 Grand National races himself. Of course, he owns the car that CALE Yarborough drives now. Junior, you changed the engine in CALE's car this morning before you came out. Did you have any anxious moments at the start of the race that maybe it might not perform right?
Well, Ned, when you go to change an engine, you have to do an awful lot of unhooking and hooking up. The only thing we're kind of worried about is we got everything hooked up, and it looks like right now, you know, we're in pretty good shape.
They changed that engine, Ken, because in practice yesterday afternoon, the one they had in it was not performing quite the way they wanted it. They felt the one they put in there now would be the one that would get the job done, and it looks like it's working for them.
Junior Johnson, who won this race in 1960 himself, and his cars have won it again in '69 with Leroy Yarborough and 1977 with CALE Yarborough.
Of course, this changing engines can be a mixed blessing because Benny Parsons took out his rough engine, lent it to A.J. Foyt, who'd qualified at the higher speed.
Let's go to the control tower. The field is under green once again as they enter the 51st lap. Here is Neil Bonnet tucking to the inside. Neil Bonnet trying to get beneath Dave Marcus, who in those pit stops had found himself up in front, driving hurt today after he crashed up at Accident Alley in the 4th turn yesterday. Hard. Back straightaway. Bonnet in first. Marcus is now in second. And the field is all back together once again. There's your leader, Neil Bonnet, the youngest member of the Alabama gang out of Hueytown, Alabama, driving for the Wood brothers. And what a superstar he's going to make in years to come. Petty is third. Donnie Allison's car number 1 is in that pack, but he has been shown as a lap down. The A.J. Foyt car is also up in that muddle. He is down after he had problems and ran out of fuel out here. How would you like to be on his pit crew after today's race, David?
Well, not too well. The scoreboard's just changing there. We're showing Richard Childress as third, but we've got him 2 laps down.
He is at least 2 laps down.
Up to third goes, in fact, Joe Milliken, a young guy who was raced right to the wire last year with Dale Earnhardt for Rookie of the Year honors.
New leader, there's Marcus down the inside. Hurt or not, he's back in front. Boy, you know how tough it is with a broken rib. Well, here he is back in the lead. Richard Petty going to second. Dropping back to third, Neil Bonnet.
I think, in fact, that poor old Dave Marcus is, in fact, a lap down, really.
Here he is coming back into the tri-oval area.
But again, with the vagaries of stock car racing, with NASCAR stock car racing, he must stay up with that bunch. Because if there's another caution thrown and he leads across the line, that gives him his lap back.
On the 50-lap rundown, he was being shown in the lead lap, number 71, but he is being shown in the tail end of the lead lap, so those two have just put him a lap down. He was indeed running in 9th position in the tail end of the front running lap. They have marked him down 1 lap as the leader went by him, and here he is trying to get back in the lead lap. That's Marcus in 71. There's AJ in there, and there you see Earnhardt, the number 2 of the blue and yellow car, just behind Richard Petty's number 43, as they come sweeping down out of that accident alley turn 4 area. It's still Neil Bonnet's lead. The second spot is actually Richard Petty in the race. The 3rd position is Dale Earnhardt, and here comes Buddy Baker from 4th with Bobby Allison running 5th. Down on the inside, trying to make that number 28 handle. Buddy Baker trying to wind his way through the field here in the 22nd annual Daytona 500 as Bonnet goes for his first win. Look at Baker go by everybody.
Yeah, isn't it awful? Awful for everybody else.
Ooh. Fine.
Someone running on 7 now. Someone running on 7 out there.
Buddy Baker's last lap in the lead at 192.719 miles per hour. 8 cars in the lead draft. Some of them are a lap down. CALE Yarborough hangs right in there with Neil Bonnet. They are now working the 57th lap. When they come by, they'll have completed 142.5 miles, 357 miles to go, 357.5 to the finish of this Daytona 500 live on CBS. Buddy Baker still up in front. In that second position, this very tight draft. Neil Bonnet pulls up, and now Dale Earnhardt clearly into 3rd. Buddy Baker dropping to 4th.
Well, Neil Bonnet's been running strong. Well, look at all that paper and dust come up as those cars rush up to the wall and squeeze a blanket of air between them and the wall.
The 17 car comes back out. Don Whittington from Fort Lauderdale back on the track.
Look at Buddy Baker pull away down that back stretch.
Now he has come from 5th up to lead and then fallen back to 5th here in the matter of a commercial. Here's Neil Bonnet back for the lead. Here comes Earnhardt into 2nd. This is the highest Earnhardt has run today with a Rod Osterlund car from California. Roland Wolotica, the crew chief, along with J.C. Elder, and what a job they've done with that team in the past 2 years. Earnhardt just signing a 5-year contract, 6 figures annually, to chauffeur this number 2. Back to the tri-oval. And here you have the 2 young Turks of Grand National Racing up in the lead.
A remarkable story is Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt this race last year, his total earnings from NASCAR racing was $26,000. It's up to nearly $300 now.
Earnhardt moves in as if he wants to pass. Let's see if he'll take a shot at him right here. There they go into the back straightaway. Earnhardt looking for perhaps first place when they enter turn 3. He drops it down a little, comes to the inside. Baker is down on the inside, back there in the 4th position. Inside of CALE Yarborough, the front 4. Still a second apart as they blast by at over 190 miles per hour. Donnie Allison's car, the report is showing some smoke. Number 1, Allison's car. The observers are vigilantly watching now as they fear he may be losing an engine. And they say now that it may be tire smoke off car number 1, Allison's car. Let's see if Earnhardt is going to take a shot at Neil Bonnet. Drops down inside, pulls up, goes for the lead. Earnhardt from 32nd position is taking the lead in the 59th lap, actually in the 60th lap. We're working 150 miles complete when we come by this time, and the new leader will be Dale Earnhardt is into first. Going to second, CALE Yarborough. Third, Buddy Baker. And fourth, Neil Bonnet. We go to Brock Yates.
Ken, I'm down here with Waddell Wilson, Buddy Baker's brilliant crew chief and engine builder. Waddell, he seems to be the fastest man in the racetrack at the present time, although he's sitting back in third. Is that part of the strategy?
Well, he's just running the way he feels he can run and hope to stay together and be there at the end, because that's what's really going to count, is just making sure that we can go across the finish line and get the checkered flag if possible.
Is the wind bothering him at all?
Well, he hasn't complained about the wind, although it's picked up considerably to what it was when we first started the race.
Okay.
CALE Yarborough goes back in front. Yarborough again, a new leader with a second place. Earnhardt, third place Baker, as they continue to swap around the 500. Junior Johnson's crew back out in front. Junior looking for his fourth 500 win for car 11 for CALE Yarborough. The driver would be his third.
You can see those arms twitching away at those wheels there. They got 500 miles of that. This is a tough race. And the leader, CALE Yarborough, the current leader, CALE Yarborough, is one tough boy.
With 61 laps complete, 7 cars have officially retired. Harry Gant, Buddy Arrington, Darrell Waltrip, Ty Scott, Chuck Bound, Jim Hurlburt, and Richard Brooks have retired from the 22nd running of the Daytona 500. Leaders, Yarborough first, Earnhardt second, and from the inside of the track, here they come by the multitudes here at the Daytona 500. Into the first turn, and it's still a pretty strong draft for the lead. There you see Bonnet in fourth, Richard Petty hanging on in fifth, a lap car in between them, which is the Dave Marcus automobile.
Dale Earnhardt right up to the wall there, absolutely scraping down that wall going through turn 2. There's a bit of a bump going in there, and it tends to throw the cars up high. There we see CALE Yarborough currently leading in car number 11, Junior Johnson Oldsmobile. A very fast car and a tough driver.
Richard Petty and Bobby Allison fighting for fifth position, right behind Neil Bonnet. Richard Petty with those familiar Petty colors and his sponsor's livery, and behind him comes Allison. Bobby Allison, who is a truly strong contender to win this race today. That Bud Moore car and the Bonnet car in a draft have been incredible, as they have proven in the 125-mile races on Thursday, in which Bonnet won a race, and Allison looked like he was just kind of riding around to see what would happen when the distance came up to 500 miles on Sunday. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
In the garage area, Ken, with 2 disappointed drivers. Joe Milliken, one of the top rookie candidates last year, is out of it. Joe, what happened to your car?
Well, Ned, you know, the car was running real good and was comfortable and everything, and it just locked up. The motor tightened up on the thing.
And standing beside of Joe is Dick Brooks, who started in the rear and had made a good run up towards the front. Dick, what happened to you?
We just exploded a brake rotor and didn't have any brakes, and then on a restart I got on the outside of a car, and when he come up I couldn't stop, and I scraped the wall, and I guess we bent the rear end up pretty bad because I can't steer it.
Okay, so both of them out of the race, and you can see the disappointment on their faces.
The lead trio just averaged 46.2 for time, 194.805 miles per hour on the last lap for those front 3 cars. And we're following them all the way around the speedway to give you the perspective of this 2.5-mile track. Here you see the lead car down on the east end of the speedway, down through that very tricky fourth turn area, into the tri-oval. Cale in first, Earnhardt in second, Baker in third. Wheeling by the crowd into turn number 1, front 3. Fourth place car just behind him is number 21, Neil Bonnet, and then comes Petty.
And Dale Earnhardt really goes high there.
There you saw it, 360 degrees around this 2.5-mile speedway. It's 65 laps down, 162.5 miles complete, 135 laps, 337 miles to go in this Daytona 500. No, we're fine. I think we better... A.J. Foyt is back in the pits. Let's see if we can't get that second place battle. Now, there's a big interval between the first battle and the second battle. Yeah. Yeah, let's keep. Okay.
It's broken up into 3 groups because Marcus and Neil Bonnet have got left out on their own. They're running for 4th and 5th. And behind them is Richard and Bobby.
Race unravels here at Daytona through its 69th lap, 172.5 miles complete when they come by the line this time. It is Dale Earnhardt, who started 32nd, now in the lead. In that second spot, CALE Yarborough. Third is Buddy Baker. The Donnie Allison car has been showing signs of smoke around the speedway. Allison's car just in front of Richard Petty's number 43. Petty's car has fallen back to 6th spot. NASCAR officials have notified Haas Ellington that there is more smoke coming from the car, and if it gets any worse, they'll be bringing him in. A.J. Foyt is back in the pits, number 51. A.J. Foyt is back on pit road. Johnny Utzman also pitting. In the back straightaway, the front 3, less than a heartbeat apart. Car number 2 is being challenged. Yarborough takes Earnhardt on the inside.
Maybe less than a heartbeat apart. There's a few heartbeats per minute going on out there, I can tell you. This is close stuff, and you've got to have great confidence in yourself and the guys you're racing against.
As they come around to complete 70 laps, the leader is Yarborough. Second is Earnhardt. Running third is Bonnet. Mixing it up in there. 3 other lap cars. There's A.J. Foyt back on the track. A.J. on the bottom of the track comes back out with the Gilmore Racing colors.
The front 3, Dale, Cale, and Buddy had pulled away from Dave Marcus and Neil Bonnet, but they seem to pull themselves back in there now, which will please them greatly, as has Bobby Allison.
That number 1 car of Dave Marcus, the driver with the broken rib that is showing 4th on your picture, is running a lap down. He is shown in 9th position. Dave Marcus in the number 71 car. Let's go to report on Donnie Allison's car.
Ken, it doesn't look like this is going to be Donnie Ellison's day. He has already stopped to make some suspension changes, and now he's smoking. Hoss Ellington, his crew chief, says that it's probably the oil pan. They may be able to make the repair, but certainly it's going to put him way down in the standings by the time they get it fixed.
They would be looking for a caution here.
Well, they'll be looking for a caution. Of course, there we see Donnie Ellison. But Richard Petty will be radioing to his pits to tell the officials to get him off there, because that oil could well be going on Richard's windscreen, which would make life doubly difficult for him. Plus, he's losing ground on that leading bunch.
72 laps complete this time by 180 miles finished in the Daytona 500 with Cale Yarborough seeking his third win, staying in front, Earnhardt in second, and then holding on to third is Buddy Baker. There is Bill Whittington, car number 40, the DK Ulrich machine, coming back on the track. He had a wild and woolly time. He has spun on just about every corner of the track getting used to this thing, but nothing has bothered his determination to get out here and run this race. One of the Whittington brothers of Fort Lauderdale.
He's been in and out about 4 times in the last 10 minutes, so he must be way down now.
Leaders, tight draft. Yarborough in first, Earnhardt in second. Here's your Earnhardt coming to the inside. Talked about racing being in his blood. That's for sure true with him. His dad, Ralph Earnhardt, a well-known Southern short track mentor.
He doesn't have a heart, he has a rotary valve in there.
Well, it certainly is pumping right now. Here he is in second place, doing the thing he loves to do better than anything in life.
Now they're trying to pull away from Buddy Baker. They tried to get that back marker between them and Buddy Baker, which as far as he and Cale Yarborough are concerned would be just fine and dandy. If they could be left on their own, it'd be terrific.
The 168-mile-an-hour average is not a record at the 70-lap juncture, 175 miles. We've had 3 cautions thus far in the going. The record darn close to it, stands at 168.134. They could get back up into record time here.
They just tick off a few more laps at over 190 miles an hour, which they're doing now. That's this average speed well up.
Let's find out what's happening in A.J. Foyt's pit right now. Ned Jarrett.
We're standing by with Dick Hutcherson, who's a former driver and a former winner himself on several racetracks. Dick, what's happening with A.J.'s car?
Ned, we got a bad vibration. I believe we're going to have to park it. It's not in the tires, it's not in the engine, so it must be in the drive line someplace.
They've changed all the tires trying to find that vibration, Ken, but just haven't been able to do so.
One of the things that gets out of shape at this high speed, sustained high speeds, is the drive lines. If they're out of balance, they will vibrate themselves apart. And of course, that's very disastrous when the drive shaft pops off the car.
We understand there's a windshield problem now on Benny Parsons' car, our camera car in the race, number 27. A windshield problem on that car. And we'll have a report from that car just a bit later. Right now, we have 75 laps complete, 187.5 miles down, and there you see the congestion into turn number 1. That's Janet Guthrie running just in front of the pack as they go through the corner. Meanwhile, Bobby Allison continues to smolder out here at car number 1 with Richard Petty running flat behind him in the 6th position.
And they are gradually losing touch with the leading bunch, which will be getting Mr. Petty, I would say, pretty uptight.
There are 3 cautions, and here's A.J. Foyt retiring his car. That red blur, that flash, was him back into the garage area. Now, who wants to go interview A.J. today?
Yeah, we'll send Brock along there. Don't send me. A.J.'s been campaigning long enough to know when he's beaten. If that car's vibrating, not the track to drive it.
75 laps, 187.5 miles down. Cale Yarborough with the lead. It is still Dale Earnhardt running in second. Buddy Baker is in third. Neil Bonnet is in fourth as we look at it from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise out of Pompano Beach, Florida. That's the newest airship in the world getting those pictures for us. The pilot, Captain Patrick Henry from Parsons, West Virginia. George Nader, our cameraman, on board the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise today as the field wheels up into the banking another time.
There you see how tight turn 4 is.
Truly a mad merry-go-round. You think of those short tracks up in the Pennsylvanias or out in the Midwest where they run the banking, like in Dayton. A banking here, that'll really throw your heart up into your throat.
That's Bill Whittington's car back in the pits again. He's obviously got serious motor trouble. He's too far down now to be a contender in this race at all.
78 laps complete, 195 miles this time live.
Bill Whittington will be very disappointed, but I can tell you one thing, he'll certainly be back.
leader in traffic. CALE Yarborough winding his way past, I believe, Richard Childress' car as they go up into the east end of the speedway, and Jody Ridley.
Jody Ridley's another runner that's going for Rookie of the Year all this year.
Lenny Pond down to the inside of the yellow car as the leaders whip down into that tri-oval. Banking still another time. Those front four cars still meshed together out there. Yarborough, Earnhardt, Baker, Bonnet, and only one repeater in that first group. This could be a day for a new face to grace victory lane here at Daytona. Donnie Allison still smoking up here in the east banking. I wonder why Petty hangs on, why he doesn't move around him, David. Car number 27, Benny Parsons, is pitting to have his windshield tech and take on right side tires as it's Yarborough, Earnhardt, and Baker for the first spots in the Daytona 500. Hilton very slow to the tri-oval. Petty is pitting, and so is Bonnet. As the field works in the 81st lap, 205 miles, James Hilton running slowly down to the bottom of the track, not bringing out a caution yet, however. Down here on pit road, you see Neil Bonnet in, and Richard Petty fighting their way back out. After regular pit stops, Petty away, Neil Bonnet away. Leaders coming down out of turn 4.
Look for more pit action now.
Yarborough in Earnhardt in second, Baker in third. Here's Ned Jarrett.
We're standing by Bill Willington. Bill, what's wrong?
We're not real sure. We might have a blown head gasket. They checked the valves. They look all right, but we're going to go back out and try it. Might be a head gasket. I hope not.
Of course, that's Bill Willington, the road racing. It's lost the cylinder, Ken, and they don't know if they'll find a problem or not.
And the windshield's pretty well taped up on that car, too. They've had some problems today.
Yeah, Bill and Don Whittington haven't been in racing long, but they were fortunate enough to win the Le Mans 24-hour racing last year, so they've got some good credentials.
Car number 21 going down a lap as you see the leaders overhauling them, but those leaders will have to come in and pit in just a moment. And here's Petty going a lap down. As closing on the outside is CALE Yarborough and Dale Earnhardt, but those gentlemen have yet to come in and take on fuel and tires. Donnie Allison still huffing and puffing his way around in the Haas-Ellington automobile. In the 83rd lap, 207.5 miles of the Daytona 500 completed, with CALE Yarborough in front and Dale Earnhardt doing an outstanding job as he did a year ago, running in that second spot. Bobby Allison now pitting the Warner Hodgson car, and the Budmore crew gets him out in fine shape. Very close to the end of pit road where they pit that Budmore car. With a report on Bobby Allison, here's Brock Yates.
Ken, I'm in the Donnie Allison pit, the other brother from the Alabama gang, and he's got some problems. It's an oil pan leak, as we speculated earlier. He made his stop. Haas-Ellington had a look. He says he's got 11 quarts on board in that dry sump system, so that should be enough. He says we'll be all right as long as they don't get too bad with that black flag.
Car number 52 is coming down pit road. Jimmy Smutmeans out of Huntsville, Alabama, making his pit stop here. And here is Donnie Allison coming in. Correction, that is number 53, which would be Slick Johnson, a rookie driver out of Florence, South Carolina. I thought we might be seeing the end of
Slick, what's happening?
The end of Allison's effort. Looks like CALE may come in here for sure. Earnhardt is down on the bottom side. Earnhardt is coming in. Earnhardt is in, and all three of those leaders are coming in. Baker racing wheel to wheel with CALE Yarborough down pit road.
Racing in pit lane. Really racing into the wall in pit lane.
Here's Baker coming in. Let's watch this pit stop from top to bottom. Once again, one of the Whittington cars coming in. There's the Baker crew at work. Clock went on him when he came in, and they're up to 15, 16. They should be down off the jack in 18.9. Not the quickest stop we've seen that crew make. The leader in
CALE Yarborough made a terrible stop, 25.5 seconds. And he's having trouble getting out of the pits as well. Maybe CALE's got transmission trouble.
Here's CALE Yarborough trying to get that car fired.
And beating on the wheel, swearing, just pulling himself. Now this is where he could lose a draft, right there. If Baker and Earnhardt hook up, CALE Yarborough is going to be out of the hunt.
85 laps complete. And picking up on first place, there'll be some new people. Presumably these two will, having pitted early, get an opportunity to go back out in front. Neil Bonnet and Richard Petty. And sly old Richard, who watched them for a while, now puts himself right flat back in the middle of things as he hangs on to Neil Bonnet in car number 21.
They've got a good draft going. Richard got a bit out of things there when he was drafting with Donnie Allison, but now he's back with a good draft with Neil Bonnet, and they should pull themselves into the lead.
Let's find out what the story is with CALE Yarborough.
I think David Hobb hit it right on the nose.
We have some technical problems as you can hear from Ned Jarrett's location down on pit road. We'll be getting back with him a bit later. Meanwhile, with 85 laps complete, working the 86 to complete 215 this time. The lead is belonging to car number 15. Buddy Baker's car and CALE Yarborough's car having pitted all at the same time. 15 is still out there, and because he pitted first, they're reporting 15 as running the number 1 spot. That would be the Bobby Allison machine. Allison showing as your lead car, coming to the start-finish line right now. The 2 and 28 are back in there again, running very, very close. Trying to close up on the leader, number 15, Bobby Allison. The report is Yarborough only has high gear. Only has high gear. There's pit stop competition here today, as well as the competition on the track, worth some $60,000 on the NASCAR Grand National Tour. And in the first 3 stops, the Junior Johnson crew made 3 stops in 1 minute, 42 and 10 seconds, faster than the Donnie Allison crew and faster than the Dale Earnhardt crew. Allison is in front. Bobby Allison with that Ford product stays up in the lead now. Number 15, one more Mercury car, has the advantage, but it is rapidly being diminished as car number 28, Buddy Baker, moves in. There is your leader, number 15, Allison, and here come those 3 cars directly behind him trying to close in. There you see number 28. And then the rest of the field, and they have closed the breach as they move down the back straightaway. Here's Allison being challenged, and Baker is again taking the lead. With him comes car number 2. Earnhardt is back into second position another time.
Baker has exhibited tremendous speed for the last 2 weeks. He just seems to be, when the chips are down, he seems to be able to drive around anybody, which is a very, very confidence-giving feeling.
Trying since 1961 to win this one. It's never gone his way, but thus far, it looks like he is going to be one of the real contenders when the white flag comes out at lap 199. We are now running the 89th lap with 222.5 miles completed in the Daytona 500. Baker in front, Earnhardt back to second, Allison being shown in third with a 4th spot. Neil Bonnet, and 5th is Richard Petty after they have pitted under green. In the Dale Earnhardt pits at the present time is Brock Yates.
And I'm here with Roland Melodica, the crew chief on the Dale Earnhardt car, and he says that things are just perfect.
We're doing all right. The tire wear is good. Everything's running well.
How about that kid behind the wheel? How about that kid behind the wheel?
He's great, ain't he?
He sure is.
He is. He's right up front.
There's a happy bunch down here right now.
Bill Whittington's number 40 is being pushed back behind the wall. Number 40 is coming out of the race. One of the Whittington brothers retiring the DK Ulrich car. We have 11 retirees from the race, and I'll review them for you again at this time. Harry Gant is out in the Race Hill Farms entry. Buddy Arrington with his own car out of Virginia. Darrell Waltrip, the Dygard team. Ty Scott with the Harry Hyde crew. Chuck Bound, the car is out. Jim Hurlbut, Richard Brooks, Joe Milliken, A.J. Foyt, Johnny Etzman, and Bill Whittington has now retired as we move to 100 laps. 190 laps complete this time, 225 miles. Front three. Into the backstretch another time. I'm amazed at Earnhardt today, that makeup he's done, and then playing this very cautious game. A lot of pressure out here in this one, and Earnhardt looks terrific. Don't forget, later today, it's Boston, the Celtics, against the Seattle Supersonics here on CBS. The top basketball action in the world, the NBA, later today, and what a matchup. Seattle and Boston go at it, the top of East and West, here today on CBS later. Well, the front three cars seem to get an interval here, David. They're developing just a bit of an advantage over car number 21, Neil Bonnet, and we'll check that interval between third and fourth. See just how these cars are deployed in seconds around the racetrack, and a second in the pit equals what on the track? Some 200 or 300 feet. The difference on the track is estimated about 276 feet per second that they spend anywhere besides in front.
Well, these sort of speeds, of course, that's why the pit stops are so important, and NASCAR is a real, true team sport. You've got something up to maybe 12 or 13 pit stops in a 500-mile race, and you've got to run everything just dead on. It's not just the driver, and it's not just preparing the car, but you've got to run it well in the race. And they pulled out nearly 8 seconds on Neil Bonnet and Richard Petty, who are lying in fourth and fifth spot, and they'll never pull that back on the road. The only way they can do it is in pit stops.
We're getting an opportunity to see the interval in just a moment. There you see the number 21 car being challenged by number 43. That's Petty just behind Neil Bonnet as they run up in the banking another time. Lead pack is running consistent laps at 46 4/10 of a second. They're turning this 2.5-mile track at an average speed of 193.9 miles per hour. And we have a new record at 90 laps complete. Daytona 500, 225 miles. The average speed is 171.574 miles per hour. And there you see the interval as the leaders are going into turn number 1. The cars running back in fourth and fifth, just going to the tri-oval, and now entering turn 1, Neil Bonnet and Richard Petty. Number 47 is going back on the track. Harry Gant has just come back on the track. He was the first car to leave the race. They've worked on the car for a considerable time. As David Hobbs told you earlier, they can't change engines. Remember those incredible 15-minute engine changes? Those are no more.
He's had about a 45-minute pit stop, so it seems rather pointless to me to go back, but there it is.
So the Daytona 500 has 3 cars in that lead pack, dicing for the lion's share. And we'll be back with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station. I need something else. At 90 laps, 225 miles, we have a new race record at 225 miles an hour. The new record belongs to Buddy Baker at an average speed of 171.574 miles per hour, breaking a record which has stood since 1966 when Paul Goldsmith had the mark at 165.610. So it looks like we're in for record-breaking speed here today in the 500, David
Well,
Haas.
they certainly are winding it up, and if they keep up these lap speeds, that speed's going to go up and up and up.
Out in front, car number 28 with the advantage. It is Buddy Baker in front, Dale Earnhardt in second. The third place car is Allison, and now you see the fourth place machine as they struggle around the speedway. That is number 21, holding on to the fourth position. Neil Bonnet. Fifth is Richard Petty. Ned Jarrett is with Junior Johnson right now.
Ken, you mentioned that Cale Yarborough was having a problem going out of the pits a moment ago. Junior, what went wrong when Cale came into the pits and went out so slow?
Well, I guess something's happened to the transmission. It's either jammed the synchronizers or something. It's only in high gear and it won't go in any other gear.
So it does not affect the car once he gets his speed up, but stopping under the green with that kind of a problem, Ken, is going to cost him a lot of extra time here this afternoon.
And so the Daytona two-time champion, Cale Yarborough, is running back in sixth place on the end of the lead lap as we approach 100 laps of competition, the halfway juncture of the event. Baker and Earnhardt are opening up an advantage. Now 9 3/10 of a second lead over the second pack of automobiles.
Suddenly gone up to 10.4. Those two leaders are setting a cracking pace, and the others just can't maintain it, and they're gradually pulling away from them. Bobby Allison's running a lonely vigil in third spot with no one around him to either help him. Obviously no one around to hinder him either, but he's not making any ground up, that's for sure.
Johnny Anderson runs in seventh position. Going eighth is Donnie Allison, and there you see the car number 27, Benny Parsons. Is it actually that dirty on a race car out there?
Well, it gets very dirty. Of course, the lens has only got one eye, so you can see just a little bit better than that when you're in there, but they get pretty gunsed up as the day goes on.
The ninth position is Dave Marcus, number 71. Running in 10th is that number 27 with a CBS camera, Benny Parsons. Those are the front 10, and 6 cars continue to run the lead lap, and these two, as we come to the halfway point, next time by, are setting incredible speeds. They're breaking all the records. Now, all the records from 100 laps on this racetrack are held by either Richard Petty or A.J. Foyt, and they are going to be ripped apart by this pair here. Neither one having won the Daytona 500 before, and they are now trapped in lap cars. You see Lenny Palm on the high side, Bill Elliott on the inside. Baker looking for some room. Passing flag is out. Here's Baker dropping to the inside on Palm. The halfway move over sign is given simultaneously. And the blue flag pushing those lap cars out of the way. And the cross flags is Harold Kidder really had his hands full.
Now, it's really the responsibility of those slower cars to stay low on the track and allow the fast cars to go on the high side. You'll see there, unfortunately, they both had to go on the low side. And the big problem comes when the driver's not paying full attention, is he gives up for one car, doesn't realize there's another one there, and tries to help the first car and moves. And of course that can be disastrous, as we saw in fact yesterday afternoon.
There is Earnhardt just in front of the Benny Parsons car. Parsons running a lap down. There you see those two leaders just up in front of our camera car. And there you see Parsons. He's only about 3 car lengths behind those two leaders as they go through the tri-oval. Those two leaders are neighbors up on Lake Norman. They'll be going fishing together come Tuesday, but right now they're battling for the $75,000 numero uno amount for this event.
Well, one of them will be able to buy lots of drinks after they've been fishing, won't
That's
they?
right. Buy the other one a boat at least. And there is the other battle. That is the scramble for fourth with Neil Bonnet, number 21, leading Richard Petty in the 5th position.
That's John Anderson in there. He's a lap down, but he has shown a very, very good track sense this whole week. He's done very, very well. Car number 33, obviously going to be a bright young hope in NASCAR racing.
Anderson won a race, the Ohio driver, at Talladega on the 2.6-mile track, and as I mentioned earlier, he was on the pole for 2 of the Friday modified races here in Speed Weeks at Daytona on past occasions. This is actually his 4th performance here at the Daytona Speedway, but this Grand National effort, he's all out for Rookie of the Year.
He's another leader, exactly. He's another contender for Rookie of the Year honors.
Thus far, 3 cautions, and they all came in a little cluster. And then after that, it's been free sailing for these competitors, with Baker still in front. Earnhardt just holding on. Cagey guy for a relative youngster. Earnhardt has all the moves of a 10-year veteran. In the Richard Petty pits, there's news. Let's get it now from Ed Jarrett.
We're standing by with the bearded one, Maurice Petty, the brother of Richard. Is everything going as you hoped it would, Maurice?
Things are going real good, but Buddy Baker seems to be about the best guy out there, and everybody's trying to jump on him. And when he gets somebody behind him, they just seem to go off and lead the field.
Compared to last year, at this point of the race, are you in better shape than you were last year when you won the race?
No, we're running along about the same speed as it was last year, and it seems like everybody is besides Buddy, and Buddy seems to have everybody outclassed today.
Okay, that's a report from Maurice Petty, the brother of Richard.
Well, he's certainly right. Buddy Baker seems to be able to run from anywhere to anywhere, come up, go by, and lead and follow and everything.
A good look at Richard Petty, the 6-time winner, as he goes back and moves under and takes the 4th position from Neil Bonnet. Richard Petty putting number 43 through its paces, going into turn number 3. And Petty has moved back in to 4th position. Neil Bonnet dropping to 5th.
Mind you, I certainly wouldn't want to put money at this stage on Richard Petty not winning the race.
The old adage is, if he is in the lead lap at the halfway mark of the race, the rest of the folks can pack up their tools and go home because he'll take the victory.
Well, I believe that's what you said last year, and how right you were.
Well, I'll tell you, their cars handled so well in the last part of the race, David. They know a lot about suspension, and where a lot of people have cars skittering and not working like they want them to in the latter part, the Petty cars seem to always run stronger as the track gets slipperier and greased up.
And Petty himself, Richard Petty himself, is a great tactician. He knows what the track's doing, and he can set his car up, tells the crew, and they can just jump right on it and get the car set up perfectly for him.
At the halfway point, we have a new Daytona 500-mile record. Listen to this. The old record belonged to Richard Petty at 165.8 miles per hour. That record goes back to 1966. You have just seen it shattered. The new record for 250 miles at Daytona is 173.544 miles an hour. We have 6 cars running in the lead lap. Baker is in front. Earnhardt is in second. Allison is third. Petty is fourth. 5th is Neil Bonnet. 6th is Cale Yarborough. Those 6 cars are all in the lead lap. 1 lap down in 7th is Anderson. In 8th, Marcus. Running 9th, Donnie Allison. 2 laps down in 10th is Benny Parsons. In 11th is the number 44 Corpus Christi driver Terry LeBouter. And in 12th is car number 75 being driven by Lenny Todd. Is it hard to keep your mind on your job for 500 miles, Buddy Baker?
It's not very hard. When you run as fast as an airplane flies, keeping your attention is like standing up on a motorcycle. It's not very hard to keep your attention. It's a tough business, and if you ever really took your mind off of it, you'd end up going around backwards and tearing your race car all to pieces, and maybe yourself.
He's true and he's not true. I mean, concentration is a very, very major part of automobile racing, and of course you've just got to concentrate very, very hard the whole time. But it is easy sometimes to just lapse a little bit.
Car number 1 going a lap down again. Donnie Allison falling back another lap as Cecil Gordon comes in for right side tires. Number 24, Gordon, is in again, and here you see those leaders back through the 1st and 2nd turn. Baker, the hard luck story. He reminds me in some ways of Lloyd Ruby at Indianapolis, who tried so many years. Such a good race driver and could never win. There is trouble in turn number 4.
That's Cale Yarborough and Dave Marcus, isn't it?
There is a crash in turn 4. Marcus's car, and it looks like Cale Yarborough's car is with him. 2 cars have wrecked in turn 4. That is right where Dave Marcus ended the day yesterday and sustained a broken rib in the last laps of the Sportsman 300. We may get a chance to show it to you and show how he was injured yesterday in an awful crash up there in Accident Alley. Here is Baker maintaining the front position as he crossed the line. Dale Earnhardt coming in the 2nd position to the stripe.
What an incredible coincidence.
The first 2 spots.
What an incredibly unlucky coincidence for Dave Marcus.
We're going to get a chance to see again what happened in the turn 4 area. Field coming through, already in contact. Marcus's car sliding Yarborough's car to the inside. We'll try to get a report as to where it began up there. Car number 71 coming to rest Dave Marcus about where it did a year ago. Rather a day ago.
A day ago, yeah.
1 day ago.
He must be beginning to wonder about that car. The leaders are right into the pits now.
Now, last year it was turn 2 where he had trouble. Here's Erdman on pit road. And there's Baker in. Now watch that crew on this high camera. They're under caution, so the pressure isn't really on. Nevertheless, they get the job done in pretty good time. Buddy Baker coming around with a 4-tire change here for the 4th caution of the day, getting this opportunity as he continues to lead the Daytona 500. Okay. Somebody got the finish from yesterday for me? Yep. Got the finish from yesterday right there.
Ingram, Gant.
At speed? Yeah. About 46.5 seconds.
Ooh, dear.
We got any report on what happened?
Have we got the guest commentator's comment?
For the 2nd day in a row, Accident Alley has taken Dave Marcus out of contention here in competition. There you see number 71 being towed in from the 4th turn area. Now let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Joe Thurman had slammed the wall. He's pinned up against the wall. And then Del Court, slowing down, losing engine, is tagged from behind. That car behind was the Dave Marcus car. He was running for 3rd place when it happened just yesterday. Then as they came to the line, Jack Ingram was victorious yesterday, Harry Gant 2nd, and Marcus, who looked like a sure thing for 3rd, instead ended up out of it with a broken rib. He comes back here today, and he's in another crash in the same place. Victimized a 2nd time by that 4th turn, and fate. Let's take another look from another angle at what happened to Dave Marcus just a day ago. We'll get to that in a moment. We may get another look at what happened just a moment ago here. You see Yarborough sliding down the inside and Marcus high. I wonder if an engine cut loose on Dave Marcus's car, David Hans.
Might have done. It's difficult to tell who was in front. Those two had been drafting each other around for quite a number of laps. And in fact, we're about to be put down yet another lap by the lead group.
There's car number 1, Donnie Allison, back in again. Remember, he had gone down another lap just moments ago before that caution. We're getting set on the restart with 111 laps complete.
A lot of people felt that Donnie Allison might well win this race.
We're in the control tower with race director Bill Gazaway. They'll complete 112 laps, 280 miles as they come back to get the green from Harold Kinder. And the leader will be Buddy Baker with the second place car, number 2, Earnhardt, 3rd, Allison, 4th, Petty, 5th will be car 21. Neil Bonnet. The report from the garage area is they're going to try to get Dave Marcus back in this race, David.
Well, good luck to him. If I was Dave Marcus, I'm not sure I'd want to be back in this race. If we could perhaps have the race without going around turn 4, he might be all right.
Just skip turn 4 completely.
Yeah, right. Go from 3 to go. Do not pass 4. Pick up $200. Cale Yarborough has made another pit stop. He's made 2 now, one after the crash and now another one on this yellow. And he's pulling himself out of the pits very slowly. And as he leaves pit lane, the others are coming down for a restart. And they'll probably catch him on this lap and put him yet another lap behind.
Front 4 cars all together lapping Janet Guthrie down to the inside as they go to turn number 1.
Now, as you look here, coming out of turn 2 is Cale Yarborough, and you'll see the field overwhelm him and put him down another lap and almost certainly out of contention for the 22nd running of the Daytona 500.
Ned Jarrett standing by with Ned Jarkus. Let's get a report from down there right now.
Dave Marcus, what happened up there?
Ned, it was my fault. I went down underneath Cale and my car just broke loose and the rear end started coming around, and when I swung it back to straighten it out, I clipped Cale and knocked Cale sideways.
You got 4 flat tires. Is that the only thing that's wrong?
Well, the shifter broke and all I got left is high gear, but we're going back in the race as soon as we get 4 tires on the car.
Has yesterday's injury bothered you any today? Yesterday's injury, has that bothered you any today?
I haven't thought about him yet, Ned.
Okay, they're going to try to get him back in there. And Ken, there's a real sportsman admitted that it was his fault that caused that spin out.
And he'll think about those ribs tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll also leave his helmet on when Cale sees a replay of this race. Cale in the pits again.
Car number 11, Cale Yarborough, back on pit road. There you see Junior Johnson, a man who won this race himself in its second year, 1960, running for the Daytona Kennel Club, if you can imagine that. And he won the event. And he's won it twice since, once with Leroy Yarborough, once with Cale Yarborough. Here they are out of turn number 4, your leaders. Buddy Baker, still trying to win this one for the first time. Dale Earnhardt, a relative newcomer. Bobby Allison, who fought for so many years to win this race and finally pulled it off. And then right behind him, Richard Petty and Neil Bonnet. 5 cars in a tight draft, all hanging in there together, coming back across the start-finish line down that short 1,600-foot straightaway to turn 1. And here you see them back in the banking another time.
At the back of that group is our camera car, 27. Although he's a lap down, he's hanging onto the lead group, which again, by the vagaries of yellow flags and cautions, he could in fact pull onto the lead lap.
There you see him right behind Neil Bonnet as they scream down the backstretch at over 190 miles per hour, about 195. Up they go into turn number 3.
Passing another car there, couldn't see who it was. Up to the wall there.
Incidentally, we have another new record at 110 laps run. The old record was broken by car number 15, Allison, as they came down to that caution period and some of the leaders were coming in. The new record is 173.289 miles per hour. The old record goes back to 1966. Richard Petty, you can erase the mark of 165 miles an hour, put in 173, as you've seen it here in 1980. Yarborough struggling to get back on the track using only high gear. Leaders still bunched tightly together. And notice how these 2 front cars, the first and second place cars, Baker and Earnhardt, try to get away as they move into lap traffic from Bobby Allison. It'll be hard to get away from him. He's a master at staying in the draft.
But this is where Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet in those Fords have got to stay close to these guys in traffic, because once they lose the gap, they don't seem to be able to make it up again.
5 cars running for the lead, better than halfway through the 1980 Daytona 500. number 47, Harry Gann. He was 100 laps down when he brought the Race Hill Farms car back on the track. It lasted about 5 laps. He's gone back to the garage area. But give them A for effort here today, that's for sure.
Well, where there's life, there's hope, and it's only 100 laps.
CALE Yarborough has dropped 4 laps down, and that's perhaps even more critical here. Ned Jarrett standing by in the Yarborough pits.
And Ken, he might be dropping more laps down too, because he's definitely not running up to speed now. In that altercation with Dave Marcus, the front end was knocked out of alignment, so he's not able to run full speed. So CALE's just going to try to ride it out and get the best position he can.
It will not be CALE Yarborough's Daytona 500. Who will it be? Will it be Buddy Baker, who's driven every kind of car conceivable? He came here first running in Chrysler cars back in 1961, then Plymouth, then Dodge, then Chevrolet. He's driven Fords, he's driven Oldsmobiles, he's tried everything, but nothing has ever worked. And here he is out here in 1980, making a tremendous effort in car number 28, the Waddell Wilson, Harry Ranier-owned Oldsmobile car, which is currently leading. There's Benny Parsons' car following right behind that tight 5-pack for the lead. Neil Bonnet directly in front, running in 5th of Benny Parsons, our camera car, which is being shown as 2 laps down in 10th position.
Mind you, Benny Parsons is hanging on to this lead group very, very well. I think he can use them to pull him away from his immediate contenders and maybe get at least one of those laps back.
From the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, watch that field. Go back to the start-finish line, then into turn number 1.
They are really hauling around here. Buddy Baker, the last 2 years, has been clearly the fastest car in practice and qualifying, having been on the pole this year and last year. And last year he had desperate luck very early on in the race, so obviously there's a large part of this huge crowd here really rooting for Buddy Baker.
Discouraging time for Baker a year ago, running just 38 laps, running them up in front, then having big mechanical problems. Won the pole, won a 125-mile qualifying race. Here you see Richard Petty. There's our camera car right on the tail end of car 21. Benny Parsons staying right with those leaders in that draft. Brock Yates has a report from the pits.
Ken, our man Benny had some problems with his clutch. It was slipping, but his crew says they think they got it repaired now, and that's why he's running so strong with the leaders. So we may be seeing more of him as the afternoon progresses.
One of the big stories here is running in 6th place. Number 33, John Anderson, out of Meslin, Ohio, is staying right up with the leaders. Here again is Parsons' car. How about this at 195 miles an hour?
Well, I was just going to say, that last lap was at over 194 miles an hour, so our camera car, clutch can't be slipping all that badly.
We've never gone for a ride at 195 miles an hour. Just hang on here. Benny will take you around again very shortly. Here's Baker still in front, and Earnhardt willing to sit in the catbird seat. Just see what develops out here.
Well, there's absolutely no point in Dale Earnhardt doing anything else. It's obvious that Buddy Baker does have more power than most of these cars here, and Dale Earnhardt might as well use Buddy Baker's power to pull himself around here as his own. The more they race, the slower they go. So he's just very happy to sit there right in Buddy Baker's draft and pull themselves around at laps of 194 miles an hour. We can see even more records fall here yet.
15 cars have retired from the 42 that initiated the 22nd running of the Daytona 500 with David Hobbs. I'm Ken Squire. Hope you're enjoying our live coverage of this, one of the great spectacles in the world of sport, and certainly the most exciting automobile race there is. The Daytona 500, always an incredible event. You think back when Petty and Pearson came spinning, crippled out of that 4th turn a few years back, and Pearson won his first race, you think of last year, with that unbelievable finish. And we're still a long way to go. We have 123 laps complete. 123 have been completed here today. 307.5 miles, just 77 laps to go. But for these 5 men, it's getting into the longest part of the day.
There's Dale right with Buddy Baker. Look at that for a close draft at 100. Well, I say 195. Just at that particular point, they're probably doing close to 200. If they're lapping at 194, they must be doing 200 down that back chute.
The G-forces just take over on these automobiles and pull them down on the banking. But here is Baker, hanging on the top of the wheel, just guiding it. And that tri-oval, as you see that shot, the roof shot here, is one of the trickiest parts of the racetrack. A lot of people lose control and slither and slide all the way into turn number 1 here at Daytona.
That 3rd car was smoking there as it went round the banking. That car of Bobby Allison gave a puff of smoke. Now that might be just the suspension and the tires rubbing on the wheel arch as they go over that bump. There's a bump right between 1 and 2, and a lot of the cars have been smoking here, but let's hope that's what it is and nothing serious.
You have 5 contenders to win the Daytona 500, all running within 1 second of each other.
Now look how high they're going. Richard Petty is above that white line. If you go and stand there, that's not very far from that white line to the wall, and he's put his whole car in there.
Baker first, Earnhardt second, Bobby Allison third, Richard Petty in fourth, Neil Bonnet rides in fifth in our CBS camera car right behind the front 5 as they slam down into turn number 1 at a time.
Now you watch Buddy Baker too at the front here, right up to that line. I say if you go and stand up there, it's not very far from the line to the wall. Of course, it's impossible to stand up there, 36-degree banking. 125
laps, now complete. 312.5 miles down, 75 laps left to go.
In fact, I did hear that Bill France, who's got an eye for business next week, is opening a ski school using these as a slopes.
We have more snow in Florida than they've had up north part of this year, that's for sure.
Pretty chilly out there today, which is nice for these guys, of course.
That's right, it's still over 100 degrees in the cockpits.
It'll be 100 instead of like 130.
Back they come out of the tri-oval. Can you imagine driving 500 miles at over 190 miles per hour per lap, just inches apart as they do?
Well, of course, there's no doubt about it that these very high-speed races with few caution laps do make it tough on these drivers. They've got to concentrate absolutely to the nth degree the entire time, and physically, of course, it becomes very demanding.
Baker in front with car number 28. He loves super speedways. He loves to go incredibly fast. If they could turn 210 miles an hour, he doesn't much care for the short tracks, but on the super speedways, he feels really at home.
Now look at those bumps there. That's as they go over the tunnel, and that's what's been upsetting so many cars this week. And as you've called it, Accident Alley, we've had a lot of accidents at turn 4 there.
You're watching it live here on CBS today, along with 130,000 spectators at the Daytona International Speedway, all up on their toes as 5 incredibly good drivers continue to intimidate, to psych each other, and ride flat-footed all the way around this 2.5-mile tri-oval.
Well, I think just right at the moment, they're not doing too much intimidating or psyching. I think they're all very, very happy to just follow Buddy Baker and use that tremendous power that Waddell Wilson is extracting from that engine.
There you see Jimmy Means, number 52. He's hanging in there today, holding on, and he should be in for a good finish before the afternoon is over. Among the front 5, they are back out of the 4th turn. Here's Baker. One time Baker spun at Talladega, Alabama, running at over 200 miles an hour. He hit nary a wall, just spun down into turn number 1. And I'll never forget afterwards asking him about the speed and saying it was an incredible piece of driving. And Baker saying, yes, it's just amazing what you can do with your eyes closed. Checking tire pressure, getting ready to change tires on Baker's car. That's on Buddy Baker's car. They're getting another set of rubber ready for car number 28.
These cars run much higher tire pressures than most racing cars, and they run around about 50 pounds per square inch in the outer tire and about 40 pounds per square inch in that inner liner that we saw earlier in the program, which is a tremendous safety device. You can't get a complete deflation down onto that safety inner tire.
Passing flag is out on car number 52, Means, and number 53, Slick Johnson, as the leaders slip by on the outside.
They slip by Slick.
We're building up for a gangbusters finish here today in the Daytona 500. There's Donnie Allison. You see him there. He's riding back in the 9th position in car number 1. Allison is riding in 9th, 2 laps down from the leaders. There's Allison in the car number 1. Had such high hopes for today. He's had some problems, and he's riding a little bit off the pace at the present time.
Is that Johnny Anderson he's with? Number 33.
Yes, it is.
So well.
That's the 6th place car, Johnny Anderson, right there behind him.
Now he's a lap up on Donnie, though, isn't he?
Again, the leaders coming by the pit area.
Well, the front 2, Buddy Baker and Dale Earnhardt, have never won here. Bobby Allison and Richard Petty, of course, has won here many times, and Neil Bonnet's never won here. So we've got a very great conflict of interest out there.
So with 130 laps complete, Baker is leading. Earnhardt is in 2nd, Allison 3rd, Petty 4th, Bonnet 5th. It's coming along. 71 Marcus coming back on the track. If you can ISO on him for a moment just to show that he's back up. He's going down pit road. I think you ought to take that inside camera a couple of times from the television tower inside just to break those shots up. Say. We got to use some more strategy pieces, guys.
Got to use more pieces in general, haven't we? They're getting pretty close. They must be getting pretty close to another pit stop too, I think.
Record. Who said it, Pond? At the Daytona 500, you are watching Buddy Baker shatter the record book here for the Daytona 500. At 130 laps, he has just smashed the old mark. At 130 laps, 325 miles, Baker averaging 172.541 miles per hour. The old record, 1966. Richard Petty at 164.441 miles per hour. And I would point out that the world closed course record for 500 miles was set at Talladega, Alabama by Lenny Pond, averaging 174 miles an hour, just 2 miles an hour faster than they're currently running back in August of 1978 in the Talladega 500. At the average miles per hour per lap they are turning, they could break that mark. Car number 27, Benny Parsons, is pitting. We're back to a pit stop period in the race, and we're under green. There's Parsons on pit road with car number 27. And the car that is currently leading this race, Baker's car, was the car that Lenny Pond won his only Grand National race in, and is the car in which he set that record of 174 miles per hour for a 500-mile race back in 1978. Here's Dave Marcus. He's back in the race. Remember, a few moments ago, he brought out the 4th caution of the day. He is back on the track and is once again running and reported out of the top 15. But he has come back out as he continues to battle his 31 race, $6 million NASCAR Grand National Series.
There we see the leaders. Buddy Baker still leading Dale Earnhardt, Bobby Allison, and Neil Bonnet, all of whom have very wisely elected to stay right behind him. Richard Petty, 4.
After 22 years of racing, Richard Petty, do you ever lose your concentration in a 500-mile race like this?
No way. In fact, it gets tougher every day, and I guess I concentrate more. I might realize that, you know, I hadn't got as many years in front of me as I got behind me, and I might work a little bit harder from there. But as far as concentration, when you get out there, you better be concentrating 100% of the time, or you're going to get in trouble like Emily did the other day.
Richard Petty concentrating on Bobby Allison's rear bumper. Bobby Allison running in 3rd, Earnhardt 2nd. There's your leader, Buddy Baker, and just behind them, number 43, Richard Petty, the 7-time national champion, 6-time Daytona 500-mile winner. He is running 4th. In 5th is Neil Bonnet. A lap down is Johnny Anderson in 6th position. Here's Ned Jarrett.
There's not only competition going on the racetrack, there's competition going on in the pit for the Pit Crew Championship. And right now, Dale Earnhardt is leading. He has been in the pits a total of 200 206 seconds. Buddy Baker is in second place at 223 seconds. They got pit stops coming up very shortly, and of course those crews will be working very hard to try to get their pit stops down as low as possible, because there's quite a bit of cash for these fellows if they have to spend the least amount of time in the pit during the day.
Something like $60,000 on the tour, so they really, those are combined times for the 3 or 4 stops they've already made.
Well, that's one thing about NASCAR racing. It's the first automobile racing in the world where real money is starting to come in. You know, it always breaks my heart when I see these golfers and tennis players win these huge amounts of money, and these guys knock their brains out all day and pick up half the sort of money. But we are seeing injections of big amounts of money into automobile racing, mainly from NASCAR. There's Cale about to be put down another lap.
Here come the leaders.
Cale.
Ready to overlap. Cale Yarborough, twice a winner of this race, not to happen today. Continuing to run for points. Cale Yarborough staying out there. Here comes Baker. He's about to put a lap on Yarborough as they come out of turn 2. Earnhardt putting him a lap down. Bobby Allison putting Cale Yarborough a lap back, as well as Richard Petty and Neil Bonnet. Lead has not changed in the last 27 laps. The pressure continuing to develop. Those 5 cars less than a second apart, just waiting in a cat-and-mouse situation. The West Coast champion, Bill Schmidt, in number 73, he's on pit road. The hood has been up on his car. They're trying to get him back in the race. From the inside of the track, watch them come across that start-finish line.
Well, this is where there's another 40 laps to go, 60 laps to go, but Dale Earnhardt is now beginning to wonder to himself, can this really be happening to me? Here I am, only 1 year out of being a rookie, standing in a tremendous place to win the Daytona 500, the ultimate prize in NASCAR racing. Buddy Baker's tried this race many, many times before, and he must be thinking on the same lines. Can I at last pull off a win here at Daytona? And as I say, there's 60-odd laps to go, and many a slip twixt cup and lip, especially in racing. I remember Jimmy Clark losing the World Championship on the last lap of the last race in Mexico in 1962 when a bolt dropped out of an oil pipe.
Dale Earnhardt, who saw his first race way back, 1962. He came here to watch his father run this race. His father started in 20th, wound up 36th. This was never a race for Ralph Earnhardt. If you put him on a short track, he'd show you the way to go home.
Well, his little boy is doing extremely well on the long track. Had a great year last year, won over $200,000 in only his first full year, and as a rookie, that was a tremendous prize to win.
There you see Richard Petty and Neil Bonnet still at it out here, fighting back there in 4th position. We will have completed 141 laps, 352.5 miles, this time by just 58 laps to go, and there are 5 cars gathered up to decide it. As you watch it live here on CBS, the classic American battle, the Daytona 500, with 2 non-previous winners up in front. Then comes Bobby Allison, meandering in 3rd spot, the winner of this race, when he drove that Bud Moore car into victory lane back in 1978, housed in 3rd. Then comes Richard Petty, who started winning this race in 1964 and hasn't quit yet.
He's having a tough time here, isn't he? Look at him. Way above that line. As the race progresses, the track, the groove moves up. Well, it moves up and down, actually. You never quite know where it's going to go. But Richard Petty always can count on to go really, really high.
Bill Schmidt is pitting car number 73, still another time. The Redding, California driver is back on pit road. I wonder how they're going to fare on this next series of pit stops. If they're under green, drop a lug nut here and it can cost you $75,000. Well, here's Cecil back again. Hello, Cecil. Car number 24 is in for another time. And directly in front of him is the Schmidt car.
Cecil Gordon, a great supporter of NASCAR racing. He's always out there. He does all the races every year. And he tries pretty hard, but he's just doesn't have the main sponsorship that some of these other guys have. And he finds life a bit of an uphill struggle, but he loves it. Finding it even more of a struggle at the moment because the car won't go.
So it's still Buddy Baker, who has been all the way to the top of Heartbreak Ridge so many times. Will it be his day at the top? We'll know shortly. Yes, sir. Now, give me a shot at Johnny Anderson, that number 33 car, for sure. Number 33, the 6th place car. Find him. Just so we show him, and also find number 44, La Bounty. Just so we can identify if those guys. I'll tell you in a minute. No, that's Janet Guthrie. Where's Anderson on the track? Led the whole race, didn't he?
Yeah.
Buddy Baker. He won this race back in 1973, cutting right down to the finish. Then it didn't go his way. Here he is leading another lap, and here is Bobby Allison pitting. Allison is on pit road to the Warner Hodgson car to Brock Yates in the Allison pit.
I got him, Ken. He's the first of the leaders to come in. They're going to put on a pair of outside right side tires and 2 of those big 11-gallon cans of gas. They both weigh about 70 pounds apiece, so you got to be a horse to handle those. It's a quick stop, a good stop, and he's underway.
Beautiful pit stop by the Bud Moore crew. When it's necessary, they can really get the job done. Jody Ridley is in. Bill Elliott is also pitting. We should see some more leaders in
Here
just
they
a
come,
moment.
the whole front bunch. Dale Earnhardt, Buddy Baker, Richard Petty, and Neil Bonnet, all coming into the pits. Now the chips are down.
Let's go to Ned Jarrett. Neil Bonnet.
We're standing by Bonnet's pit. The Wood brothers are ready to go to work on that car, and Richard Petty has just overshot his pit skin, which caused Neil Bonnet to overshoot his pits. So that's going to cost each of them some extra seconds. Bonnet has a problem with his two-way radio. He cannot hear what they're saying to him. They can hear his communication, but they're having to do it the old primitive way now as he gets out of the pits. Here's Petty going out, almost hitting the Roger Hamby car as Petty went out, but he got by without hitting him. But I was about to say that Bonnet is using the primitive way of communication, and that's with the blackboard, not the modern way of the two-way radio system.
Buddy Baker back on the track, winner of 16 Grand National races in his career, but never the Daytona 500. Right behind him, Richard Petty, who has won 190 Grand National races, an incredible number, and has won this race 6 times. Johnny Anderson, number 33. There is your 6th place runner. That is the Dream car, which comes out of the Midwest. And they have high hopes for him in this 1980 campaign. John Dream on the radio, 26 years old, a very young team. Anderson, a short tracker, run some 70, 80 events a year in the past on the short tracks. They think they have a winner with this kid Anderson, and he's shown a lot of class in the 125-mile qualifier back on Thursday.
He's shown a lot of class all week, actually. He's going very well today. He's only, in fact, what, 1 lap down on the leaders? If he could just get up with them and hang on, and there was a caution, that could put him back on the same lap.
149 laps will be completed by the leaders this time by.
Richard Petty looks like he's going slowly to me, down out of the tri-oval into turn 1.
Problem on 43.
Yeah, he's definitely slowing down in turn 1 and 2.
Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
We're standing by Dale Inman, the crew chief on the 43, and Richard Petty ran over his foot. Dale, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know how bad he hit it. It's numb right now.
Well, he's going right back into the action, Ken.
There's a bit of family relationship there.
Richard's first cousin has been with him since 1959, and he's hurting, as you would heard if a 3,700-pound car ran over your foot.
A great crew chief, Dale Inman. Prepared a lot of winning cars for his cousin, Richard Petty.
14 cars out of the race. Cecil Gordon's trying to get back in it again. Cecil Gordon is coming back on the track. Number 14, Sterling Marlin, who was in here for Cooper Marlin today. He is on pit road. Janet Guthrie is pitting. And Petty did not come in. You see him down to the banking. He's completed another lap. We're coming up on a 150-lap rundown, and we'll give you an accounting on the top 5. And we'll see right here, number 15, Bobby Allison out in front. None of the leaders can go all the way. They will have to make one more pit stop. Oh, brother, that last pit stop is going to be critical out here. Number 48, James Hilton, coming in. It's all going to build up to one pit stop in one lap, David.
Well, when all 4 cars came in last time, they all left pretty much together. But of the cars, Buddy Baker had the slight edge, actually, I thought.
As they come around to complete 150 laps, 375 miles, just 50 laps to go. Bobby Allison in front, Neil Bonnet in second, Dale Earnhardt in third, Buddy Baker in fourth. 3 of those 4 have never won this race.
It'll be interesting to see if Buddy Baker zaps by this lot, which we know he's capable of doing, or whether he's going to wait now and just let them pull him around.
The 140-lap record has been shattered today. The old mark of Petty's back in 1966 of 163, 678 fell to 173, 817 mark established by Buddy Baker.
There's Bobby Allison, the leader, and there's Buddy Baker trying to take away a pace from Dale Earnhardt, but gives up because they're about to pass a slow car there on the back straight. So Buddy Baker slips back in behind Dale.
One of the savviest drivers in the business. He can build them, he can drive them. He has a tremendous engineering sense about racing cars. Made his debut here at Daytona back in 1961. As we mentioned earlier, won this race finally in 1978. Has one other major goal, and that is to win the national championship. And his son is building a short track car over in Alabama. There could be still another member of the Alabama gang.
Bobby Allison's a very versatile driver. He's done us very well in those IROC championships on the road racing courses. He drove a little Datsun a few times, and he also, of course, drove at Indianapolis for Roger Penske.
Who thinks very highly of him.
And he did very, very well there, too.
Here's Earnhardt ready to challenge. Dale Earnhardt in the Osterlin car from California down the inside, and Dale Earnhardt is back in front. The Warner Hodgson car, number 15, driven by Bobby Allison, falling back as Buddy Baker screams down the inside on the west end of the speedway. As they come down over the tunnel, here they come back to the tri-oval. Another time, Baker closing ground.
So Buddy Baker does seem to have an excessive power. There we see Dale Earnhardt leading the race. Well, it's okay leading it on lap 152, but is he going to be leading it on lap 200? Because that's the only lap that really counts.
The leaders heading down the backstretch, working the 153rd lap, 47 to go. We'll be back with more live coverage of the 500 after this word from your local station. In the truck, Petty goes out, and it'd be a nice idea to show why Kyle wasn't in the race.
We're about to be lapped. Richard's about to be lapped, I think.
Dale Earnhardt in only his second Daytona 500 last year, starting 10th, finishing in 8th, driving for the Osterlin team. Running out in front but being challenged, and once again reappropriating first position is car number 28. Buddy Baker is in front. Allison in the slingshot, tries it out and goes to second, and notice how easily in the slingshot that white and blue car meandered down the inside. Ed Jarrett in the pits.
Ken, we're standing by with Dale Inman. We need to clarify one thing. It was not Richard Petty that hit Dale when he came into the pit. It was Neil Bonnet.
Yeah, I dropped down to change the tire, and when I dropped my foot out, Neil hit me and knocked me down. it ran over the back of a foot, and I was real slow getting the tire changed, and I don't know, Richard rode the clutch real bad getting out or something, I don't know, but the car never would go back up to speed, and it's been slipping ever since, but it's beginning to pick up a little speed, but we've lost the draft and everything now, so it's messed our day up for sure, Ned.
Well, that's why the car of Richard Petty is not running as fast right now, Ken. He slipped the clutch when he went out of the pit area, and if that clutch cools off, sometimes it will pick back up and running full speed, so we'll keep an eye on it and see if he can get back to the speed.
Richard Petty back in 5th position and falling back. We now have 4 cars battling for the lead as we have 156 laps completed, 44 laps to go.
Well, of course, that's one of the things about NASCAR racing is, as I said earlier, there's so much pit work involved, and it's pretty dangerous to be out there in pit lane, and it's always a miracle to me that more people aren't run over or just knocked over. And it's unfortunate it's happened to Dale Inman, but of course one can't feel too much sympathy for Richard, having already won this race 6 times.
5 cars still in the lead lap. Johnny Anderson running in 6th, 1 lap back. Donnie Allison in 7th and going 8th is car number 44, Terry Labonte, and that should read 2 laps back. Those 3 competitors are all 2 laps back. From the Goodyear blimp, you see them moving through traffic once again, and the leaders are passing Richard Petty. Petty down on the inside as the leaders overhaul him.
So that puts Richard down 1 lap.
And leaves 4 cars in the lead lap. 158 laps complete, this time by 42 laps, 105 miles remaining. It looks pretty good for Baker now, as it did in 1973 when he went right down to the finish of the race, and then it was all for naught. Finished 194 laps that year, running beautifully, everything working, and then the engine said goodbye.
Now that is a heartbreaker, a real heartbreaker.
Something, David. The leader just turned another lap in 46 seconds flat. And 46 flat, how about this? As we move into the very last part of the race, is an average speed on the lap of 195 miles an hour.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
That's a mile an hour faster than he qualified for the race.
That, yeah. The track must be getting slick.
And there's a lot of lap traffic just in front of those lead cars. There you see the front 4 moving into lap cars.
So this will slow their lap down, but these 4 guys have really got to play it cool now. There's no need for them to get involved in each other or have any trouble because they've got, as you say, 100 miles to go. And they might as well play it cool down to that fatal and final and the one that matters, last lap.
It really gives you the feeling they're on a mad merry-go-round, and you see them up on that 31-degree banking, David, from that Goodyear blimp shot. Here's Brock Yates.
Ken, as they say, the plot thickens. It's really interesting to talk to these different crew chiefs, especially the 2 crew chiefs on the Oldsmobile cars, Baker and the Australian car driven by Dale Earnhardt, and the 2 Ford products riding in 3rd and 4th, driven by Neil Bonnet and Bobby Allison.
Here's Richard Petty coming in.
Bud Moore, the crew chief on the Bobby Allison car, says simply they don't have enough horsepower, so their object is to hang in there with those 2 lead cars. Conversely, the 2 Oldsmobiles are making an attempt now with the instructions of their crews to break away from Bonnet and Allison. So we'll have to see if the 2 3rd and 4th place cars can hang in there. If not, they're in trouble.
Richard Petty, a lap down, about to accept the fact he's going 2 laps down. His 191st victory will not be in this Daytona 500. Hood is up. Dale Inman, rather gingerly moving around the car over there on the side. There you see Wade Thornburg, who's been in that crew many years, talking to Richard through the window. Big problems for the Pettys here. Kyle crashing in one of the 125-mile qualifying races. Let's go right down to the Petty pit.
Ken, they're trying to see if they can find what the problem is with that clutch and see if they can make an adjustment on it. But as you can see, they're not gaining very much right now. They're spending a lot of valuable time in the pits here under the green flag, but he was gradually losing speed out there and was not going to be able to finish, so they had no alternative but to bring him in and see if they could correct the problem.
38 laps to go, and the front 4 come around this time. Will it be Buddy Baker tasting victory for the first time? Dale Earnhardt in only his 2nd effort. Bobby Allison to win his 2nd 500, or Neil Bonnet? We'll know shortly. the guy he battled with so close that year? Was it Pearson? 73 was a Petty win. 73, Petty won it, didn't he?
Pearson's only won it once, hasn't he? 76.
73, Richard won it. 72, AJ won it. Petty won it in 71 and in 73. Can we get another shot of the 33 car, please? Johnny Anderson. 33 or the 44 car of LeBounty.
Yeah. 33.
Thank you.
That's getting up to that closed course record, which is 174 something.
We may be seeing the fastest 500-mile race in history. David Hobbs and Ken Squire with you at the control tower. The record for a 500-mile race is 174.7 miles an hour. 1978, Lenny Pond, Talladega, Alabama in August. Right now, at 160 laps complete. 400 miles, 100 miles to go. They are running with Buddy Baker out in front at an average speed of 175.188 miles per hour. So stay with us. You may see the fastest 500-mile race in the history of motorsports. They're still working on Richard Petty's car, still trying to get him back out here and keep him in contention for the national championship. Well, this is only one of 31 Grand National races for some $6 million in which these drivers compete annually. CALE Yarborough trucks on out of the pits very slowly.
CALE Yarborough and Richard Petty will be sorry not to be a part of a world record 500-mile race win, but it can't happen to everybody all the time, and Richard's had his fair share of wins. But just look at these four guys go. Buddy Baker, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, and Bobby Allison. Baker putting a bit of daylight between him and the others there, but I don't expect that'll last long.
CALE Yarborough back up on the first turn banking.
The sun's setting down, well, not setting, but it's getting low now, and as you can see, the tremendous height of that bank starting to cast a very big shadow across turn one. Richard.
Leaders moving in another time. Donnie Allison.
Donnie.
That'll make him 3 laps down. And remember, Donnie Allison is running in 6th position.
Donnie Allison's had a good week. He won his heat race, his 125-mile heat race, with absolute ease, and was obviously looking forward to a good day here, but this was not to be it. Look at Dale Earnhardt, right in there with Buddy Baker. Both putting another lap down on Donnie Allison. Buddy Baker starting to run really high, making that groove between 3 and 4, right up to the wall.
And it looked for a moment like that car got a little sideways on him, on Baker.
They have in fact put just a tad of daylight between themselves and Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet running for 3rd and 4th. If they can continue that gap and pull away, those two guys are going to be not home and free, but they're going to be very happy.
166 laps, 415 miles complete, 34 laps, 85 miles to go. They're averaging 175.188 miles per hour for the race, and with the pit stops included. But on individual laps, they are running faster right now in the waning moments of the event than they qualified at over 195 miles an hour through the heat, through the traffic. Baker sticks it to this car as he tries to win his first Daytona 500.
Now he and Dale Earnhardt are making a really concentrated effort to try and get away from Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet. They just, in fact, the other two did catch up a bit there, so they didn't get away with it that time. They're right with them again as they go into turn one.
If there are no more cautions, you are going to see a 500-mile speed record today. Next on CBS, the Celtics against the Supersonics. The best of East and West gathering together for a little conflict right here on CBS this afternoon. Richard Petty retires. Petty done for the day.
That's always
166 lap, David.
Always a sad sight to see a car being pushed behind pit wall. Whatever sort of competition it's in, I hate to see it. But we can't all be winners.
So the focus of this race comes down to 3 non-winners and 1 former winner. car number 43, retiring with a clutch problem. He becomes the 14th official retiree from the 42 starter in the race. And now you can see Donnie Allison with a plume of smoke badgering that car wherever it goes on the racetrack.
Donnie Allison's car is potentially very fast, and one must start to ask oneself at this point. He's tagged himself onto that lead group. Is he going to try and stay in there to help his brother Bobby if he needs it right close to the end of this race? Because Bobby Allison's car does need help over these Oldsmobiles, one of which Donnie Allison's driving. And it's a possibility that he's going to try and stay with the lead bunch, even though he's out of contention himself, to try and help his brother.
Well, the other serious consideration here is Neil Bonnet.
In fact, we've got the 3 members of the Alabama gang running there at the back of this group.
And if you'll remember that 125-mile race which you saw yesterday on the CBS Sports Spectacular, that Neil Bonnet car, when push got to shove in the final 3 or 4 laps, it took off. And I am sure that Leonard Wood is talking to Neil on the radio and settling him down and just getting him set for the all-out effort. And they are going to put a consultation flag out. A black flag is about to come out for Donnie Allison. They say the rear bumper is covered with oil. They're afraid that he is slicking up the racetrack just a bit too much. They always drop oil out here. But now the word is that a black flag will be given to car number 1, and he's right in the midst of the hunt. Harold Kinder has the flag in hand. Consultation flag out, and there is a digital readout right behind him, or beneath him. As Kinder stands there on the flag stand, directly below him is a 24-inch digital read, and it has the number of a car that the consultation flag would be given to. So there's more than the flag, and Donnie acknowledged the black flag, they say. He realized when he saw the readout that he has a problem.
So that's that little plan gone by the by. John Anderson is now at the back of that group as well. There's Donnie Allison starting to run low before coming to the pits. There's John Anderson running high at the back of the group, the white car, number 33, hanging onto that lead bunch. Maybe he can pull himself back another lap.
Well, John Anderson is going to find himself on the board very shortly. Marvelous. Here is Donnie Allison in. Donnie Allison pitting, his crew waiting. The Haas Ellington people. As the car comes to a halt.
Ooh, smoke pouring out of that right front wheel well.
Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, they're jacking up the left side of the car. They're going to put a jack stand under there and go after the oil leak, which still is the oil pan, according to Haas Ellington. So this is going to take some time, and it's certainly going to interfere any plans he might have had to help brother Bobby. No fun working in there in that hot engine, as you well know. There are a lot of burnt fingers and smashed thumbs in the course of an afternoon down here. I think we forget how hard these guys really do work in the pits in this race, just as hard as the guys in the race cars.
Racing mechanics have the most incredible hands. They're all covered in blisters and burns, and they just don't care. They just stick their hand in it. There he goes. And it is smoking very, very heavily. They may pull him straight back in again. Look at it. Smoke pouring out of the back.
Working the 173rd lap. Just 27 laps to go. It's still Baker in front, still Earnhardt in second, Allison third, Neil Bonnet in fourth.
great, isn't it?
Donnie Allison in the pits and back out again. They think they have a crack in the oil pan. There was some fire from beneath the car a few moments ago. He's back on the track. The 4 leaders are still locked together in combat. There's Donnie Allison on the track. Go to Brock Yates.
Ken, I'm here with Hoss Allington. Hoss, you and NASCAR seem to have an argument about whether that leak is fixed or not.
Yeah, we're kind of concerned too about it. You know, it's been leaking some, but it's not been leaking that bad, but it's been smoking pretty good. So we're seeing that we're pouring some oil in it.
He's talking to Donnie now.
But then, what we're doing now, we poured oil in, it's leaked down. It's leaked down, see? On the headers, I think we might have to park it anyway, the way it's looking.
Thanks so. Now, Jarrett, down to you.
We're standing by with Richard Petty, who's dropped out of the race. Richard, what was the problem?
Well, the clutch went out on it. They had made that pit stop, and a bunch of us stopped at one time, and just about the time I got ready to go, another car come in about halfway blocked me, and just enough I had to slip the clutch so much by getting out of the pits, and it heated up. I run, I don't know, 4 or 5 slow laps, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and finally got so heated up that it wouldn't even engage at all.
Is the clutch that sensitive that you can't slip it hardly at all?
Well, it was today. Not really. Most of the time it's all right, but we run real high gears in the cars at these racetracks, you know, Daytona, and put such a load on a clutch when you take off. You can't let it spin. If you do, you tear the tires up. If you let the clutch slip, you tear the clutch out. So it was just a deal that, I messed up today.
Well, thank you. We're sorry to see you out of the race.
We'll be back next time.
I wish I could smile like that when I drop out of races. What a great sportsman Richard Petty is. He's won a lot of races, but he's also won a lot of hearts. He's a tremendous guy.
And he took the responsibility when someone came into the pits, and we know who that someone was. It was the 21 car that caused him to slip the clutch.
That's right, but I mean, that's the sort of thing that happens in these crowded pits. There's not much you can do about it. But he also has another point that I don't think people realize. You know, these cars are geared tremendously high with only a 4-speed transmission. Even first gear would sort of normally pull you down the highway at about 115 miles an hour. So it's quite a job to get him out of the pits.
Listen to this. 170 lap speed is a new record, 176.044 miles per hour. The old record at the Daytona Speedway, Richard Petty in 1966, 162.074. The new record of 176 miles per hour belongs to Buddy Baker. It is almost 2 miles per hour faster than the fastest 500-mile race ever run in history. If it stays under green, they could bring that thing pretty close to 180 mile an hour at 500 miles today.
Don't let anybody tell you that CBS don't bring you the best. Last year we brought you that fantastic French Grand Prix. Last year we had the action-packed Daytona 500, and this could be an absolute world-breaking. When you say the world record, I wonder if people realize you do mean the world. This includes Indianapolis.
This includes everything. This will be the fastest 500-mile race in history.
This isn't just NASCAR. This includes everything.
Here they are in the back straightaway. There's your leader, Buddy Baker, setting this blistering pace. And I think that a good question to Waddell Wilson is, are they getting concerned? Did they think they could run this fast all day at this incredible clip? Earnhardt in second. They haven't given up the lead at any time. They've stayed in front and pretty much dominated. We have a pit stop on Bobby Allison. We have a pit stop on Neil Bonnet. 2 of the key factors in the quartet to decide the 500 are now on pit road. There is Bonnet in. Down on the other side is car number 15, Bobby Allison.
Bonnet's not changing tires. Bonnet's car is not jacked up and changing tires. He's going for the super quick stop. But Allison, in fact, changed 2 tires in the same time.
That is Bud Moore's crew at work. We saw Bud Moore win a race for Buddy Baker at 11 9/10 seconds for a pit stop for 2 tires and fuel. And when the old Marine, Bud Moore, from the Pacific campaign, starts chewing on those men, they really get at it out there. Now, here come the other 2. On pit road come Earnhardt and Buddy Baker.
Now this is when everyone's
ready.
You got to keep a really cool head at a time like this. It's so easy to overshoot the pit or spin the clutch on the way out.
I have it there. A tremendous stop by the Rainier team, the Win Racing team. Earnhardt is still in. His pit stop is running 11-12. Earnhardt is getting hurt here on this pit stop. The other three had incredible quick pit stops, but now they're changing left side tires. It's gone over 20 seconds on Earnhardt. He is coming out in 25 and 1/10 seconds. You can say goodbye to Earnhardt unless there's a caution on this one. Those three leaders made incredible stops.
Unless there's some sort of miracle, that's the end of Earnhardt. And unfortunately, if I remember rightly, last year, Dale lost this race, or lost a good chance in this race with the pit stop too.
And it was late in the event.
Yeah.
It was either the next to last or last stop that put him down.
Two of the four cars that came in then just put fuel in. They tried to change the left side tires, and obviously something went wrong with either the jack or the wheel wrench or something, and it took them a long time.
But the critical stop was Allison. He did get tires, and as you pointed out, we don't believe the 21 did.
No, I don't think it did.
So if Allison has fresh rubber on, we have 181 laps complete, just 19 laps to go. They may have figured right. The standings at 180 laps, the speed at 176.914. That is a new record. At 180 laps, 450 miles, just 50 miles to go. Buddy Baker has another new record at 176.914. The old record, 160.
There's Earnhardt back in the pits again. Dale Earnhardt, who's been running right in the front of this race for so long, is in the pits again, and that has absolutely certainly nailed his chance of doing well. In fact, they're going back to that same wheel again.
Something drastically wrong there. There's Baker going into the turn. Baker running by himself. They continue to work on the Australian car, number 2 of Earnhardt.
There's Bobby Allison putting Dale Earnhardt a lap down, and with less than 20 laps to go.
Earnhardt coming back on the track.
Neil Bonnet puts him a lap down.
There are now 3 drivers going for the lion's share of a $660,000 purse. Baker, Bobby Allison, and Neil Bonnet. Truck, you better be sure to have some second and third place interviews ready. Need some strategy pieces for the last part of the race. And I still need a shot of number 33, who's now all the way up probably into 4th. No, he'd still be in 5th. If there's any way you can pick up a shot from another camera, just because he is showing smoke. He just came under the tri-oval.
A lot of smoke.
I think it was a tire on 33 Anderson. Going into turn 1, was showing some smoke. And he now is a real factor. The Bounty 4 car, which is your 6th place car, is now on pit road. Get me a new lineup from scoring. Get me a new lineup. The 2's falling back. I want to know what's happened. Is 2 and 33 running together? Is slowing down in turn 3. 33 is slowing down. Anderson. He's coming in. He's limping down off turn 4. Running. If he brings out a caution, that'll do it. Anderson, car number 33, running in 5th place, has just pulled on pit road, and the hood is coming up. He showed a puff of smoke in the tri-oval a lap ago, and there you see the hood up after a tremendous effort by the Dream Team, number 33, out of Ohio and Indiana. Janet Guthrie also pitting in the Neil Bonnet pit. Ned Jarrett is standing by.
We're in the pits with Glenn Wood, who owns the car that Neil Bonnet drives. Glenn, you chose not to change tires when you came in.
Well, it wasn't about 20 laps to go, and we can go easily 200 miles, and it's only about 150 on those tires, so we could get that done quicker than changing the tires. So sometimes to get one out of balance too. So felt like everybody else would probably do the same thing.
You said that you had to put in a little bit more gas than some of the others.
Yeah, we're not getting quite as good a mileage as Baker, and so we chose to put in about 15 gallons. They probably put a little bit less.
Okay, so that's the difference in Neil Bonney running a little farther behind now on the racetrack, Ken.
They're trying to rush out number 33, and as it started down pit road, something broke on the car. They're putting there. Now they have it going. It stopped for just a moment, now is rolling. Meanwhile, number 28, with 187 laps to go, Buddy Baker in command.
187 laps to go.
I'm sorry, 187 laps to lead, 13 laps to go. Buddy Baker, new record, 176.914 miles per hour. The old record, 160.897 by Richard Petty in 1966. That one falls by the wayside today.
I just hope they put enough fuel in it. That'd be just so typically Baker to run out of fuel on the last lap. Which God forbid will happen, but he is absolutely winding away from Bobby Allison at a tremendous rate.
10 laps to go next time by. 10 laps to go next time by. There have been 27 lead changes among 7 competitors thus far in the race. Lapping Elliott, number 9 car. The leader, Baker. We're checking the interval for you between the first and second place cars.
There we see on the scoreboard the tragic news that Dale Earnhardt is down a lap. What a shame for such a fine drive. There's Bobby Allison screaming down the back straight.
David, the tire that Earnhardt put on was out of balance. That was the problem that brought him back.
It took them a long time to put it on, and then, of course, they just had the luck to choose a bad one. Here we see Neil Bonnet and Bobby Allison hooked up in a tow. This will help to get back some of that space that Buddy Baker's pulling out on them. But with 10 laps to go, they've cut it rather fine.
Not if they're going to run side by side like that. They've got to pull in and draft.
They've got to draft. Got to draft.
Baker had a fast 500 at 169 miles an hour in 1976 in Talladega, Alabama. But boy, this beats everything, what he's doing here today. Less than 10 laps to go as Baker zeroes in on his first 500. '27 and 44 are together battling for 5th position. How far ahead is Baker? Can we get an interval?
13 seconds. And he's going up at about a second a lap.
Can you put a clock on him when it comes to line up the other ones come in? Some individual laps on the joke. A.J. Foyt's record in 1971 of 161 miles per hour for 190 laps, 470 miles an hour has been eclipsed by Buddy Baker. The new record is 177.129 miles per hour, and we are on our way to the fastest 500-mile auto race ever run in history. Baker is coming down with a 13-second advantage into the tri-oval, about to lap Dave Marcus. Meanwhile, you see the cars in second and third, Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet, as they come out of turn number 4.
After the 4 main contenders made their pit stops and they got split up, Buddy Baker screamed away at about a second a lap. But now that Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet have hooked up, it's staying static, but it's still 13 seconds behind.
We asked Neil Bonnet about his strategy near the end of the race, what he would like to be doing, where he wanted to be.
The end of the race is the biggest factor for us, you know. And I'd like to be in a good position in the first race. In the middle, but the main thing is position at the end of the race. If you're back in 4th or 5th place, it's going to be hard to pull out a win. So I need to be, I'd like to be leading, but if I can't be leading, I don't want to be any further back in 3rd to try to win this race.
Well, he's in 3rd, but he's a long way back in 3rd. He's not in the bumper. There's Marcus getting a draft off car number 28, Buddy Baker.
When he said 3rd, he meant 3rd about 0.2 of a second back, not 13 seconds back.
The 190-lap rundown. The cars are running in the 195th lap right now, rapidly drawing to a close. On the 190-lap, 475-mile rundown, Baker in 1st, Bonnet then in 2nd, Allison in 3rd, with Dale Earnhardt 1 lap down in 4th. In 5th, Terry Labonte. In 6th, Benny Parsons. Running in the 7th spot, Lenny Pond of Ettrick, Virginia, up to 7th. Going 8th was Marlin. In the 9th position was Janet Guthrie. Running in 10th was car number 9, Bill Elliott. And running 11th was number 90, Jody Ridley. Rapidly getting down to a close on the Daytona 500 with less than 5 laps to go. We'll be back for the finish with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station.
Real set place to be. If you run in slower traffic, the lead car's got an advantage because he's the one that can go through the holes that are available. If it's a good open racetrack, the man running 2nd could win. It's really tough to say. The draft is not as effective now as it was when the cars were running 175 or 80 miles an hour because of the horsepower the cars generate down the straightaway. You have to get a long run at them to go by, and it's just a tough thing to decide where you're going to make your move.
Less than 3 laps to go for Buddy Baker with a 13-second advantage, tagging along, hitchhiking. There is Dave Marcus. A blown engine going down into turn number 1. One car smoldering, drops on the inside. The yellow is coming out. How about that?
Oh my goodness me, you just can't beat NASCAR racing, can you? 2 laps to go, 13-second lead, and bang. There will be the Alabama gang of Allison and Bonnet right with him as they go across the line.
This may be it to the end of the race. We'll wait and see. It still could be a new record even under caution. In fact, it will be.
Yeah, because he'll race back to the line, so they'll only have 1 lap to go.
A blown engine going into turn number 1.
Oh, and Neil Bonnet smoking badly coming off turn 4. It looks like his engine's about to go.
Here's Bonnet coming to the tri-oval, slowing down.
Now he wants...
This could be a blessing for him if he can keep running at all.
Absolutely.
The engine is off. He has shut the engine off. It's gone. Bonnet just coasting around here at the end of the race. Well, what a situation this is.
Where's Dale Earnhardt? Nowhere. He can't.
The white flag is out. White flag is out on the field. They are under caution. Baker is streaking around to win this race, and even under caution, it will be the fastest race in history. Here he is coming out of turn number 4. And after all those years of effort, all those heartbreaks, the 1980 Daytona 500 waving like mad as he crosses the line. Buddy Baker has done it, but not without a heart stopper just at the finish as the caution came out. Buddy Baker has pulled it off. 200 laps completed, waiting for the time. Even under caution, they will have shattered, smashed every record there was to be had. directly across us on the start-finish line, the Rainier Racing crew, ecstatic over their win. How about this? The speed, ladies and gentlemen, is a new world record for 500 miles. Faster than Indianapolis, faster than Talladega. Daytona today, 177,602 miles per hour. 177,602. A happy crew awaiting Buddy Baker, waving all the way around the racetrack. How long he has waited to do that.
And just 5 pits away, the Wood brothers still waiting for their car to come around. Has that dropped Neil Bonnet from 3rd to 4th?
There is car number 17 trying to help number 21 to the line. Number 17 trying to push
That's
number
Don
20.
Whittington.
Whittington bringing in car number 21 to assist him to the stripe. Don Whittington of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the fellow who came from sports car racing to this competition, assisting car number 21 in. After 500 miles, the sportsmanship is still there. Incredible. And there's the first place man, Buddy Baker, coming in, waving to his crew.
One is, of course, the Waddell Wilson.
Second place, Bobby Allison going back to the garage area. We'll try to get a word with him. And here is number 21 going back to the garage. We're waiting on the official finish on those front-running cars, but there is no mistake about it. This car and that driver have just run the fastest 500-mile race that has ever been witnessed on the face of the earth.
I think it's fitting that Buddy Baker should do that. He was the first man to go over 200 miles an hour on a closed circuit. He's always liked going fast. He's a real high-speed man, and he's won the world's fastest ever 500-mile race.
Here goes the car for Victory Lane. The crowd on their feet to give him an ovation as he pulls in. Rock Yates awaiting him down there. They're rolling him back through the television tower. 2 hours, 48 minutes, 55 seconds the time. 29 lead changes among 7 drivers in the fastest 500-mile race in history. Buddy Baker defeating Bobby Allison in 2nd. Neil Bonnet being reported unofficially in 3rd. Dale Earnhardt for 4th. Benny Parsons for 5th. I don't believe that he lost a spot. We're waiting for further word on that on the Neil Bonnet finish in car 21. And the car number 28 went in the wrong gate. There's the first mistake of the race. I wondered if they were going to go down and do a right-hander, but there was no way they could get through. So they've been here since 1961, and they never got a map to Victory Lane.
Well, that's the sort of mistake that you don't mind making when you've won the race. Look at that crew. Just look at that jubilant crew. What a night they're going to have, and especially Buddy Baker. He's such a nice guy. He's one of the gentlemen of the sport. He's a great big man, huge man, but as gentle as anything. But when he gets in that race car, he's a tiger, and he's wanted to win this race so badly for so long.
What a wonderful moment for his father, Buck Baker, who was one of the very first of the serious champions on the NASCAR Grand National Trail. Buck Baker, who was here today to see his son Buddy win it, and Buddy's own 2 children were part of his pit crew today, his 2 boys. One of whom was an all-A honor student in college now and a heck of a football player, and the other, of course, was a feature of our CBS program a year ago. Brian. Brock Yates standing by with Buddy Baker, who's taking his first true deep breath of the day. They say in the 500 you take 1 breath when it starts and you hold it for 500 miles. Baker unhitching the belts.
He looks absolutely nonplussed. He can't believe it's happened to him, I think.
Well, I saw him win at Talladega and be so overcome he was actually sick to his stomach after that fast race he ran there a few years ago.
He almost looks like he's crying to me now. He must be a very, very overjoyed man. It's one of his big goals.
Let's go to Brock Yates with the winner of the Daytona 500, Buddy Baker.
There he is.
Yeah.
18 years, babe. 18-year wait. You sure unloaded a lot of frustrations out there this afternoon.
Oh, my God. You know, I'm just so... This one right here, I've tried so long. I've led so many times. I thought I had it made, and something always happened. Today, with 2 laps to go, I looked at the gas gauge, and it fell to 2 pounds. I said, oh, no, I know what's going to happen now. I'm going to coast up to the start-finishing line and never cross it. This car worked beautiful. I'd like just Waddell Wilson and all the boys just did a great job, and right now I'd like to say a lot of things. I can't. I'm caught up in myself right now.
Buddy, was there at any time in the operation this afternoon when you had any doubts that this race car couldn't do it for you?
No, I knew the car was capable, and that even put more stress on you, because when you really have a superior race car, it just, you don't know what to do, you know. It's just out there running so well, and I dropped back one time and felt out the competition, run a few laps behind them, and when I got ready to go, I just went.
You just early in the race, we noticed you drop back into about third place, but that was just to kind of feel things out with everybody else.
Well, I had to know what I could do if I had to have a showdown, you know, running real hard there at the end, and it would go any time I wanted it to. I'm just real proud of the NAPA shock. Oh, geez.
Do you know?
I want to say the right thing. I know I'm going to leave everybody out.
But you know, you had a lot of time to think about it out there. You know, that you weren't doing much racing near the end. You should have made up a really good speech.
Well, I didn't know where they were at, and I kept looking in the mirror, and I saw a car behind me, and it was Dave Marcus, but I didn't know exactly who it was right at the time, and you know, I run a couple hard laps, and they kept telling me slow down in the pits, and I said, they're crazy. Somebody passed me if I slow down, but I didn't know I had such a lead. But the car was just immaculate.
Brock Yates.
I have to give every bit of the praise to the race car and the crew.
Buddy, from all of us at CBS, our greatest congratulations.
Thank
Terrific.
you very much. I'm a pleased person.
Brock, does he know, is he aware that he's just run the fastest 500-mile race in the history of motorsports?
I was... well, it's going to be a little hard to get to him at this point.
And already they've grabbed him and taken him in another direction.
Buddy, do you know that that was the fastest 500 ever run?
Was that right?
Fastest 500 ever run.
Ever run?
Ever run.
Well, I won a new record back again. I had the record for a couple of years at Talladega, and now we got it back again for the Renier. Renier car has had it every time. Well, no, I won it first in Bud Moore's car again. But I tell you, if I could drive a race car like that, I'd run every day if I could get one prepared like that.
Buddy, were your fingers crossed like everyone else's were about fuel?
So the interviews continue down in Victory Lane with the winner, Buddy Baker. 18 years of effort, all come down to one day, and in one day we have seen the fastest 500-mile race in history, and Buddy Baker reigns supreme at the Daytona 500. Buddy Baker has just become the fourth man in the history of the Daytona 500 to win the race from the pole. The last man to do that was in 1968, CALE Yarborough. Prior to that, Richard Petty did it once, and the Leighton giant Fireball Roberts also pulled that off. But it was Buddy Baker's day from top to finish. He completed 143 laps in the lead. He led on 8 different occasions. Just a masterful and complete domination of this 500, the fastest 500 in history. Brock Yates is standing by with the man who put the car together.
Ken, the man beside me is Waddell Wilson, who built the engine and much of the automobile that Buddy Baker drove to victory here today. He's a man that has been able to build cars that have stood up under that gentle giant's foot for a couple of years now, but last year a very frustrating end of this race. Now victory. What are your feelings?
Well, it's really great to stand here in Victory Circle. You know, Buddy he just drove a fantastic race. I'd like to thank Harry Renier for putting all this together, but most of all, I'd like to thank God for guiding us through this race today. I'd like to thank all the crew, all the people that helped with the sponsorship, you know, with, well, we got the Regal Ride Shocks, and we have Comfort Coach that's helping us right now. This is our first race with us, and I hope they stay with us from now on. And we also have all the people that have the decals on the car. That's too many to name.
You need them. Yeah. Waddell, tell me something. You talked to Buddy all the way through the race on your two-way radio. Did you have any times that he communicated to you any frustrations or any problems that he thought were developing that gave you a little bit of a fright?
Well, no. The only thing he said was the first part of the race, he said it was pushing just a little. But we knew the racetrack would get slick as it went on, which it did. And then later in the race, we could take the tires off, and it was even tire wear. So the car neutralized, and everything worked well from then on.
Good. Our congratulations again. Ken, up to you.
Waddell Wilson is a very interesting fellow. He's been around for years. He was originally with Holman Moody, then with Junior Johnson. He not only put the car together, but he is a master engine builder, and that engine that ran that hard to set a new world 500-mile record was put together by Waddell Wilson.
Well, they did absolutely everything right, of course, because the key to their victory really was in the last pit stop when they decided to just put fuel in. They did not change tires, and they only put a little bit of fuel in. They had a tremendously quick pit stop, which of course won them the pit stop competition as well. So they had a great day all round.
We would remind our stations along the line that we'll be going to that game this afternoon between the Seattle Supersonics and the Boston Celtics a tad early, because this race ran off at such a record clip. And one of the men who was in the hunt right to the finish is standing by with Ned Jarrett.
But Bobby Alice from Hueytown, Alabama, coming home in second place. Were you pleased, Bobby?
Well, Ned, I was pleased with second. Buddy really had everybody covered today, it looked like, and we could draft and hang on, you know, and the crew put me out several times in the lead, but the Oldsmobiles could run me down and get by, especially Baker, and, you know, they just were really strong all day, and we're real happy that the car stayed as strong as it did all day. You know, Bud Moore and the whole Warner Hodgson crew did a tremendous job for us, and, you know, second ain't all that bad. It ain't a win, but it ain't all that bad, and you know, we can go on from here, and we got a lot of racing this season, and we just hope that the Warner Hodgson Mike Curb car keeps on going like it's going.
Bobby, your crew chose to change tires on the last pit stop. Buddy Baker didn't. Of course, that put you out of the draft with him. Had you been right there on his bumper on the last lap, of course, the caution, the race ended under the caution, but could you have drafted past him?
Well, all day long, it seemed like I couldn't even get my nose outside of him. I could draft by those other Oldsmobiles, but he just seemed to have tremendous speed on the straightaway, and the only place I could catch up was in the corners on him. So I'd have tried, but I think it might have been a pretty difficult situation.
Okay, so he says second place is not too bad, and I'd say so, Ken. A pretty good payday for Bobby Allison.
Indeed, a heck of a payday for everyone out here today, with $660,000 divvied up among these stars who have raced 500 miles to set a new record. A record that's going to stand for some time, I would think, David.
Well, the last one stood for over 10 years, and there's no reason why this one shouldn't stand for a long time. 177 miles is a heck of a clip for 500 miles.
We'll be back with more in a moment. The old record for the Daytona 500 belonged to A.J. Foyt back in 1971. He averaged 161 miles per hour for this little jaunt, and today Buddy Baker has averaged 177 miles per hour to set the record, which I'm sure is going to hang on here for a long, long time. You don't see that many races with that few cautions. Meanwhile, Ned Jarrett has the kid that raced to third place, Neil Bonnet.
Neil, we've seen a lot of smoke come from your car right at the end of the race. What went wrong?
Well, Ned, you know, our game plan from the start was just to hang on to the lead pack all day and try to wait to the very end of the race to see if we could pull the thing out. And, you know, Buddy got away from Bobby and myself, and I was trying my best to hang on to Bobby. And when I saw the caution, I knew we had to race back to the line, and I made a big sling out around Bobby, started gaining on him down the back straightaway, and all of a sudden it dropped the valve and just locked the motor up. I don't know what happened. It seemed to knock the whole inside of the engine out.
Now, Neil, of course, you have been, it's been said that you are a protege of Bobby Allison. I know that you're very close friends. You come from the same town, Hueytown, Alabama. What were you thinking out there? You're just going to try to beat him and take that second place money away from him?
Well, you know, that's a unique situation about our sport. Here's a guy that's helped me all through the years, and another way I had to repay him was try to turn him around and beat him, you know. But he's been so helpful through the years, and you know, I'm sure that if I hadn't tried to pass him, he'd wonder what I was doing out there racing a car like I'm doing.
You had to have a little bit of help being pushed in there by Whittington.
Yeah, you know, the race was over, and he just gave me a shove in the garage area. And, you know, I'm just glad for the Pure Later team we could finish the race like that. And, Ned, I'd like to take the opportunity. My dad's been sick. My mother's down here. He didn't get a chance to come down. I'd like to tell him everybody always hollers, "Hi, Dad," on football, so hi, Dad, I'm glad to see you.
Okay, back to you, Ken.
All right. Neil Bonnet, a name you're going to hear a great deal more from in time to come. We'll have some final thoughts on this Daytona 500 for you shortly as we get down to wrap up what has been the fastest automobile race in history, the 22nd Daytona 500. Buddy Baker, and he's still receiving the honors and the plaudits in victory lane. Back in a moment with a final thought. When things work right, they really work right, don't they?
And they certainly worked right for Buddy Baker today. They took a bit of a gamble. Obviously, racing is a gamble. They took a gamble, didn't change the tires. Dale Earnhardt elected to change the tire. It went all wrong for him, and he dropped from right in the lead bunch to 4th place there. A very sad day for Dale Earnhardt, but a great day for Buddy Baker, who's been trying for 18 years to win this race. And when he won it, he won a good one, a tremendous record, and probably a record payout of over $75,000.
Let's take a look at the standings in this event. Of course, Baker coming across first. Finishing in 2nd place today was Bobby Allison. Then in 3rd, number 21. Credit will go to the Wood Brothers car. In the 4th spot will be number 2, driven by Dale Earnhardt. In 5th, Benny Parsons. Riding in 6th was Terry LaBounty. 7th was Donnie Allison. 8th went to Lenny Pond. And it was Sterling Marlin, a number 14 car, finishing 9th. Jody Ridley wound up in the 10th position. And Janet Guthrie finished 11th. Take a look at the folks who've won this race in the past. The most illustrious names in stock car racing have been here on this track. And when you go back to year number 1, 1959, there was a guy named Lee Petty. And you can add Junior Johnson himself in 1960. Marvin Panch came in here to do it in 61. Fireball Roberts, Tiny Lund, the late driver who replaced Marvin after he'd been in a crash earlier in the week back in 63. Lorenzen Petty. Mario Andretti came down here in 67. Drove a loosely set up Holman Moody car and scared everybody to death and pulled off a phenomenal victory. The Pettys have dominated this race, but as we get to the end of this one, for 1981, you can add a new name, a name that has tried to win this race from almost the very beginning. Since the 3rd Daytona 500, Buddy Baker has been here, and today he has finally succeeded at one of his major goals in motorsport, to win the Daytona 500. For Brock Yates and Ned Jarrett, along with David Hobbs here in the control tower, I'm Ken Squire. Thank you for joining us for the 22nd running of the Daytona 500.